just make sure. We are live, so.
Yes, I'm sorry, I should have announced that more. I just wanted to make sure that this was able to start prior to the meeting starting. Okay.
Oh, I forgot the needed today. Now, use my knuckles, Micah Knuckles.
Huh? Nice. Nice. Welcome back, by the way.
Thank you.
You want to switch for another chair? All right, so is everybody ready? All right, Mike, if you want to sit, you're fine standing there too.
No, that's right.
All right, so we'll go ahead and call this meeting to order. First of all, let's all stand and say the Pledge of Allegiance. I
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, thank you, everyone. We have less than 10 people in this room. So I want to invite, or thank you guys for being here, and also anybody who's watching on YouTube. Thank you very much. We're going to just take care of the business that really needs to be taken care of. Anything that requires or really has the public comment element strongly will be postponed as long as we can to the end, hopefully, of this COVID social distancing. So with that, what I'm going to ask you guys to do is when we're done with this appointment, I'll ask you guys to leave so that we can bring in people who have appointments with us so that we maintain as few in this room as possible. Let you guys get back to your private offices. Also, don't worry about standing up or going to the podium. Just feel free to just sit in your chairs and give your updates or answer any questions that may come up. So all the documents for today's meeting have been either uploaded on the community website for people to see so we can comply with public participation, or have been in the clerk and recorder's office as well. And we will take public comments throughout the meeting today via the live stream, and we do have a facilitator for that. Thank you very much. So with that,
Madam Chair, can I mention one thing?
Yeah.
I think it's important for everybody to know that on March 27th, the Attorney General did give us guidance on how to hold these meetings the way we are. And we're in compliance with that, doing the best we can.
yes, yeah.
So.
All right, so to start, is there any public comment from our YouTube folks on any subject not on the agenda that the commission has jurisdiction over?
Wait a minute.
Okay, you know what, I have 2 letters, so that'll give us a minute to wait. And I think these would fall under public comment. The first one is from Cheryl Campbell. This is dated March 6, 2020. Commissioners, during the December 23, 2019 commission meeting on YouTube at 2 hours, 2 minutes, there are questions about the road department budgets. My best understanding of part of that discussion was a disbursement for a $127,000 that per Commissioner Overt was originally been budgeted as in kind, but that it went to a private company. I know this is a really old history, and perhaps you can refresh my memory. At what commissioners meeting was it decided that a private company would complete some of the lower Deep Creek work? Was a public notice made regarding that work? Was there a contract? Who was the contractor? were bids requested. Could you take me through the process that was utilized that resulted in a $127,000 payment being made to a private company? Your prompt attention to this will be appreciated. Sincerely, Cheryl Campbell. I'm not sure what that's for. And then the other one is from Jan Neeram. And this says, Dear Mr. Howick, but it was sent to the commissioners for the meeting today. I was saddened and appalled by your letter to the Board of Health in a recent issue of the Broadwater Reporter. The impression I get from your letter is that you are more concerned about the impact on business revenue from the recent public safety closure than concerned about the health and safety of Townsend citizens, especially vulnerable members of our community. I will continue to rely on trustworthy information from reputable, trained medical and science experts in agencies like the Broadwater Board of Health, the Center for Disease Control and Infectious Disease experts like Dr. Anthony Fauci. Good to know which new Townsend business owners put their personal business profit ahead of the overall health and safety of our community and the advice of experts. I know I'll take my hardware business elsewhere in Townsend and will encourage others to do the same. Jan. So, do you have any public comments?
No, ma'am.
Okay, so we'll motor on. Do we have a certificate of survey on the back table? Is that what I see?
I have 3 of them.
3 of them. All right.
And I have looked at these, and they help through the sanitarian's office, but I have 3 of these with letters from the surveyor, so do you want them one at a time, and then you can use the letter? Okay.
Perfect. That'll work. Right, so the first one, dear commissioners, in response to the current COVID restrictions with COVID-19, I am presenting this certificate of survey review request to this letter to avoid unnecessary contact and adhere to social distancing. She has worked with the planner on this, and this is for Robert Spencer Dundas. This is an exemption review for a boundary relocation. The land is 6.5 miles northeast of Toston off 6 Mile Road. He's requesting his boundaries be changed between 2 parcels owned by him to be realigned to separate his current home on a 20.14 acre parcel, tract 1, and the second tract of 99.74 acres, tract 2, which is his agricultural lands. So the request from us is to support that proposed boundary relocation.
Can I add something to this? I'm sorry, yes. Nicole Brown for the record. I know previously before we started social distancing, we had a survey review committee. And I have not forwarded this on to you. So that if you want to take another week or some more time on this, that's understandable, but that the fault lies with me with not taking the email and forwarding on to the entire committee. So I just want that to be made known.
And we don't actually approve boundary relocations, we support them. So if we wanted to go ahead and vote to support this today, we're certainly following our policy. And in the interest of social distancing, it's my intent not to have weekly meetings, but to meet when we have to. So this could be a 2-week between now and the next meeting.
I'll make the motion to support the bond.
Do we have a second?
Yeah, I'll second the motion.
Is that raised hand? Okay, it's been moved and seconded to support the Robert Dundas boundary relocation as presented. Any public comment? All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. 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 Motion carries.
The first half of the
Okay.
letter.
Toss it to you first, Ann, and then I'll toss it this way and then give it to Nicole on the other side. Thanks, Ann. There we go. This one is for Leonard Lambot. He's requesting a boundary relocation on 2 of his subdivision lots in Deep Creek Estates. He's requesting the boundaries to be changed between lot 21A and 21B to ensure that 21B owns the irrigation ditch that feeds the pond located on 21B and guarantees access to Deep Creek. I guess I don't need to give you my phone.
So Nicole, this new easement would be part of 21B, is that correct? I think that's what you said.
Mhm.
That's
Because of the new map, and it's attached to 21B. Yeah.
I'll make a motion to approve the land lot boundary location with Lower Deep Creek Estates.
That's right.
It's been moved and seconded to support the boundary relocation for Leonard Lambot as presented. All those, and public comment? All right, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carries. Thanks, Ann. There you go.
That is the third and final one.
Thank you. This is for John and Doris north of Townsend on White Horse Road. They're requesting their boundaries to be changed between 2 parcels owned by them. Tract 1 is 226.01 acres and 4th amended tract A2 of 181.52 acres to be realigned to separate their current home on a 21.95 acre parcel amended tract 1, and their second tract with 385.58 acres, Fifth Amendment tract A2, being their pivot and agricultural lands. There's the letter for you.
So I make a motion to allow the acres to separate their parcels and their homes from their crop.
Second.
All right, it's been moved and seconded to grant the boundary relocation as presented for Vanden Acres. The public comment? All those in favor of the motion, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carries. Thanks, Nicole. There you go. So next we have 3 experts in COVID-19. We have our public health nurse, Teresa Munson. We have our environmental health and sanitarian, Sean Rowland. We have our disaster and emergency services, Mike Plumke. And we have our county building maintenance, Mike Myers. These folks to be here is if anybody in the public has any questions or concerns and they want to go straight one-on-one to the experts, I thought this is an opportunity for that. So this is scheduled at 10 o'clock. So hopefully if anybody does have questions or concerns, what I think to get started and give people a second or two to ask their question is, can I ask each of you 4 to just give a very short synopsis of what you do for the public, especially related to COVID-19? And how about Sean, we'll start with you, Mike, Teresa, and then Mike.
So my name is Sean Rowland. I'm the county sanitarian, and my job right now is very much like all of ours, which is education, reaching out to establishments like food service establishments, and then discussing with them how to conduct themselves in this time where they're supposed to be doing takeout and that type of work only. And then there's been also some follow-up with establishments that are not following the guidance and having to do some follow-up education, and if you want to call it enforcement. So right now, that is what my job is entailing, and just kind of keeping in touch with the rest of the group, making sure we're up to date with what the policies are. So that's my part.
My name's Mike Hockey, Broward County Disaster Emergency Services Coordinator. And what I've been doing is receiving daily briefings from the Montana Disaster Emergency Services Emergency Coordination Center and also from the Montana Department of Public Health and Safety. I usually take that information, push it out to our agencies as well as local government. And that includes the city of Townsend. I've also been reaching out to our public safety agencies, law enforcement, fire, EMS, search and rescue, making sure they have enough personal protective equipment. I refer to that as PPE. I've been ordering stuff from the Strategic National Stockpile. We have an opportunity to order that stuff. That would be medical supplies, primarily that is personal protective equipment for the first responders. I've been distributing that stuff to the first responders. I got some over to the detention center for their officers, as well as the deputies. I've got some stuff given to search and rescue and to the fire departments. Fire department may respond to like a lift assistance or an AED call. Also, I've been issuing daily situational reports to Montana DES and as well as to local elected officials and all the department heads and stuff. And last, in closing, I'm not an expert in this. I'm still learning, and by no means do I have an expertise in this subject matter whatsoever. It's a challenge for all of us. Big learning curve. Thank you.
Thanks, Mike.
I'm Teresa Munson. I'm Public Health Director for Broadwater County. And as Mike said, it's hard. We've never been through a pandemic before. The last one we had was in 1918 with the Spanish flu, which was caused by H1N1. So we're all learning as we go. My job, I've actually a lot of hats to wear in this particular situation, but I do a lot of public education and following up on cases. So once we get a positive case, I have to figure out who all their contacts were. Try to figure out where they got the virus, who they possibly have given it to since they contracted the virus. And then I reach out to all of those people and make sure that they have guidelines to follow. Some of them get put in quarantine for 14 days, others don't have to. We have actually done about 37 tests in Broadwater County. We have 4 positive cases and no deaths, fortunately. But there's about 17 people that I'm following right now that are in quarantine and or isolation. So, you know, if one person is positive and they have a spouse, we have to go through all of their contacts and find out if they have symptoms, you know, and basically that's the only way that we can stop the virus. We need to find out where they got it, who they've given it to, and try to get that stopped. So there's hours and hours and hours of work that go into that. And then we also have to document that and enter it into the state infectious disease computer, so that the state knows everybody who's got it. We're in constant contact with the hospital to make sure that they, you know, are making sure they're getting all of their information that they need. Boy, I think that's, there's a lot more than that, but we have been quite busy in Broadwater County, and I just want everybody to know that, you know, if you feel like you have symptoms, please call the hotline. Please don't call the Sheriff's Department. They're getting some calls and they're overwhelmed anyway. So please call the hotline if you have any questions, or the Health Department, and the hotline number is 406-603-4524, and Public Health is 266-5209. We just don't want those people to be overwhelmed at this time. Also, a couple other comments that I wanted to make is, you know, now the social distancing really is the key to this whole thing. and wearing masks, gloves, whatever you can do to protect yourself. People need to take responsibility for themselves and not have people, you know, trying to protect you. So that's why we do a lot of public education. Stay 6 feet away from people, stay home if you can, be alert for the signs and symptoms of the disease. If you think you have them, please call, find out if you need to be tested, and then we'll make sure that you get to the right place. I also wanted to make a few other comments for the public. There's some donation, please make donations to your food pantry. There's also a monetary donation site set up on BCDC website. And you can donate to a specific person or to a business, or anybody, you know, that you think might need help. So those people that are a little bit more fortunate, that are still working and have their jobs, you know, there's a lot of people out there that need help. So there's lots of ways that you can donate. The other thing that'll be coming out this week is governor. We only have an order right now till April 10th. And so it's likely that sometime during the week we'll get a new order from the governor. I'm guessing that he's going to extend that stay-at-home order. So, but if you have any, just give me a call and I'll do what I can to help.
Thanks, Teresa. Mike?
Mike Myers, county building maintenance supervisor and county safety coordinator, just trying to keep people safe and the employees and the public and anything anybody needs.
Thank you. And you've stepped up the cleaning in this courthouse and the other buildings, I understand tremendously.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I know you've been finding a lot of PPE to all of our employees who need it.
Yeah, I've been supplying quite a bit of PPE for all employees, especially solid waste.
Thank you.
I guess the question I have for all of us is if the governor does extend this, then there's really no need for us to meet at the Board of Health.
That is correct. Yeah, his would supersede ours. We can be more strict than his if we want to, in which case we have to meet. If we want to just follow what he dictates, then we don't have to. Yeah. Nicole, do you have any questions or concerns from anybody in Broadwater County land?
No, ma'am. The only chat we have on here is from the sheriff that he's watching and available for questions from the public as well,
Oh, fantastic.
which is appreciated.
Thank you.
So,
All right, well, you know, we might do that again, when we meet, just in case there are questions or concerns out there. I'd really like people to be able to go straight to the experts who are still learning. But that really is you guys, and the sheriff as well. So, thank you very much for coming, and you guys are all free to go.
Well, I guess one thing, we did talk about doing a weekly briefing. Is everybody still wanting to do something like that? We set it up.
Yeah, Mike's gonna set that up. We just couldn't get it going last week.
Right.
Now it will be public.
Yeah,
That'll just be
Just be,
recorded.
just us.
You got it lined up yet?
I'm this close to having it lined up. We're going to go a different route
Very good.
from Blackfoot, but it'll be free and available to the public. So
Thank you.
I think
Very
that's
good.
important.
Any particular day you want to have that, like a Wednesday or something?
Let's coordinate that via email. I want to keep as little in this meeting as possible so we can get from start to finish as fast as possible and get everybody dispersed. So we can coordinate via email. All right.
Thanks, everybody.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
So for the public, one of the things that we've done is we put together kind of a county operations. We did a memo for our staff, kind of giving them instructions and also guidelines of what we would be following, limiting offices with personnel, offices that have more than one, that are smaller offices, people are taking turns. Mike's been giving us all PPEs. There are still hand sanitizers. The courthouse is locked. Our services we offer to the public are still fully available. You just have to call for an appointment to come to work with our staff here in the courthouse. And we do still have essential functions like road maintenance going on, solid waste going on, of course, law enforcement going on. So one of the things that we have done is followed the governor's directive. We're also following all the CDC guidelines, and we have been spending full-time hours on conference calls at every single level, trying to make sure that we're covering everything we can to keep people safe. And like Teresa said, not only our staff, but the community as a whole, what we don't want to do is overburden our hospital, as we've seen this happen on numbers. So with that in mind, we will probably have less than a weekly meeting. We get together when we have to, if there's something that has to be taken care of. You guys want to argue, for weekly, that's fine with me. I don't think you do. And then also, we via email made some votes that I just want to make official. One of those was claims. We've allowed our finance staff to go ahead and process claims as they are signed by 2 commissioners. And then we will bring all those claims to a vote in these meetings, to allow them to go ahead and continue that process. So bills get paid. Choose payroll. We've allowed that to continue. The health insurance, we're going to go ahead and absorb that, at least till this is over. We will evaluate that with the budget. We do have assurance from finance staff that we do have the money in those accounts to pay for that. The governor has been working brilliantly with the different county or local government associations, the elections administrators, local recorders, county treasurers, Montana Association of Counties. And there's 2 big things that have been in the works. One is done and one is still in the works, but we expect it any day now. One is voting. Each county is allowed to do mail-in ballots to maintain social distancing and still have our election. The last thing we want to do is not have our election postponed, like some states have had to do. And then the other one is the taxes. So we have the ability to forgive penalties and interest on late tax payments. Right now we have a deadline of April 15th, and then for property taxes, sometime in May, right? May 30th. So if this continues, the governor is in contact with those different government associations, and that so that we don't have to address that. So, anything you guys want to add that we've been doing?
Well, we've been all been putting in a lot of hours, and a lot of briefings and different things, so. It's been good.
One thing that you're new, Daryl, and Mike and I have been through this before, but when the emergency hits, that's one thing, and you're overloaded with things to do. The big work is going to start.
Right.
When it comes to rebuilding our community, we will be working triple time.
Sure.
Yeah. So, I guess with that, I do want to make sure that we thank our healthcare workers, be it public health, be it at the hospital, be it at the clinic, our first responders, our people working in the nursing homes, our people working with the assisted living. Those people are all really putting their lives on the line and doing some tremendous work. So I just wanted to make sure we gave them a shout out of thanks. So with that, could we get do you guys want to just do a blanket or memo on what we agreed to via email concerning payroll, claims, health insurance we approve? Or do you want to do each one individually?
I think that-
Okay.
So you can't really remember the list there.
Yeah, I had to write it all down after a couple of days. Meetings as needed. Payroll, processing, claims processing and payments, absorbing health insurance premium increase, the locked courthouse, Our memo to staff regarding public, social distancing and supporting mail-in ballots. I think that's it.
Okay. So you gotta put this in I guess I would move that we continue our meetings as necessary. We continue our payroll and our claims, our payments. The health insurance for our employees, that would be the additional amount. Continue our policy of locking the courthouse doors and people to make their appointments, and get their business taken care of. Approving the vendors to our staff and the mail and ballots.
Also,
Right, it's been moved and seconded to hold meetings as needed, continue with payroll and claims, absorb the health insurance increase, continue with the locked courthouse and allowing any public who has needs to make appointments, approve memo to staff and support mail-in ballots for the primary. All right,
I'll second that motion.
thank you. Is there any comments from the public?
I do have a comment from Tim Ravendall that the audio is garbled, so it's hard to hear what you are saying. Win Meehan also said yes, but there's also a delay, which is probably from the signal strength in the basement. So I guess if you could speak up just a little more, we can try and make that work. As far as the signal strength, I don't know how to fix
Okay.
that other than the location, but
Is there an option to adjust the volume level of your microphone?
there is an option to turn off the volume, but not to turn it up.
Okay.
As far as I found. I can try moving this table up a little. I mean, if we want to pause the meeting and I can get a little closer. But I know all the chairs are spaced 6 feet apart right now, so
There shouldn't
We
be
could-
that many
okay.
people.
So I'm
if you
just
wanna
gonna
do that.
try pulling this forward. So to the public, I apologize for a moment. It's gonna be bumpy.
One of the things that I found, and I've been working from home, so this was a surprise today, but my computer couldn't
That's
be
I will try
slow.
and
So I don't know if our
closer and then
internet
I'll
in
readjust.
courthouse
That
has
should be-
slowed to a interface, and that's affecting this, or if it can be credited to us being in the basement, or if it's a combination of the two, but my computer, my internet upstairs is horrific.
Yeah.
Mine in my office is really bad right now too.
And, you know, it's something that we have had.
We are not getting service we're paying for.
Mike
And
Myers
have.
is, Mike Myers has had GIS tracking
Okay,
for the past couple months. See if we are getting exactly what I'm
It's
saying.
slow.
Yeah.
It's slow.
So, I think you might have enough data now. See if there's something that can help us out.
absolutely. So future meetings hopefully will not have this issue
Right.
if we can get the service that we're paying for.
Okay.
All right. But yeah, we can all speak up a
Okay.
little bit. All right, so all those in favor of that motion, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carries. Here we have minutes from March 9 and March 11.
Only want to move to accept minutes for March 9th and March 11th.
also,
It's been moved and seconded to approve the minutes from March 9 and 11. Any public comment? All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carries. And I'm not sure what's appropriate, but I'm gonna have you sign, Daryl, as the vice chair,
Oh,
as
sure.
we presided over those meetings.
A lot of paperwork.
All right, we are going to close this regularly scheduled commission meeting and open a public hearing. This public hearing is to adopt a resolution to declare a state of emergency for Broadwater County due to the COVID-19 pandemic. This was already approved. We were one of 48 counties. We had one of the first 4 people to test positive in the state. So the declaration for the state of emergency, we are also under a governor's state of emergency. So I'm not going to read the whole thing. It is on the website. It is posted throughout the courthouse. Whereas the President of the United States has declared that an outbreak of coronavirus disease, COVID-19, in the United States constituted a national emergency. Whereas the governor of the state of Montana has declared an emergency exists. Whereas the circumstances of the outbreak may exceed the capacity of the services, personnel, equipment, supplies, and facilities of Broadwater County. Whereas the outbreak of the coronavirus disease may affect the local economy of Broadwater County. Whereas Section 10-3-103 subsection 8 states, emergency means the imminent threat of a disaster causing immediate peril to life or property that timely action can avert or minimize. Whereas pursuant to sections 10-3-402 and 10-3-404 MCA, the principal executive officer, 3 fancy words for chair, of the political subdivision has authority to issue an emergency declaration to mobilize local resources to protect life, health, property, and the economy. Now, therefore, I, Laura Obert, Chair of the Broadwater County Commissioners of the County of Broadwater, Montana, pursuant to Title 10, Chapter 3, Montana Code Annotated, and other applicable statutes, do hereby declare that an emergency exists countywide, is hereby declared pursuant to Section 10-3-402 MCA and all provisions of the Broadwater County Public Health Emergency Plan and the Broadwater County Emergency Operations Plan are in effect, and that a copy of this declaration be filed with the Broadwater County Clerk and Recorder, Montana Department of Revenue, and the Montana Disaster and Emergency Services Division. So what we need is a vote to affirm the declaration for a state of emergency for Broadwater County due to COVID-19.
I'll make a motion to approve the declaration.
It's been moved and seconded to declare or affirm the declaration for a state of emergency for Broadwater County. Is there any public comments? All right, all those in favor of the motion, please signify by saying aye. Decision. So we will exit it now. We did make the decision. And now we will go back into a public hearing. I'll knock on the table. And this is to hear a resolution authorizing Wheatland Water and Sewer District's construction project as a tax increment financing district and authorizing procurement of financing, design, and construction of a district-owned and operated sewer system and the cost of issuing said bond. So for the public hearing, is there any public comment on this resolution?
I do have a comment, but I'm not sure that it was for this resolution or not, so I'm just going to speak it from here. This
Okay.
is from Tim Ravendall. He states constitutional concerns not addressed.
Maybe he meant that, I have no idea.
I don't
Okay.
either.
I'm not going to speculate. If you would like to clarify, he certainly may. So we are going to close the public hearing, having heard no other public comment, and enter our regularly scheduled commission business meeting. And now we have a decision to be made on this resolution. Do you have anything to add, Daryl, as the expert on our TED process?
Expert, but
Throwing that word out a lot today.
I know that this resolution's been posted on our website, right? So it's been available to the public and I think for probably 2 weeks, right?
Yes.
It's been available for 2 weeks. I've not received any comment from anyone. Have you guys received any comments from anyone that had questions about this? I mean, this is, actually, it's kind of a, I would say maybe almost housekeeping in the fact that we've already passed a county ordinance back in, let's see, was it in
I think it was December.
November? Yes,
November.
we've already passed a county ordinance that addresses a lot of this. And this resolution just gives us, allows us to go forward with bonding if bonding is needed for this project. I know that Brian Hobart has worked, and MBAC has worked very hard in trying to secure an EDA grant for us. And as we go to start to develop the water sewer district down there, which is kind of a key component of this project. And I think that we stand a very good chance of receiving that grant. And so anyway, I guess what's important too for people to understand is that the district has been created, board of directors has been appointed. So we have everything in place to go forward with this. And so now this will give the district the opportunity to determine how much revenue will be needed to complete this project and go out for construction bids. And then I think what's important for folks to know also is that still has to come back to the Board of County Commissioners before it goes any further. They're going to present all that information, costs, and what the project, scope of the project is going to be, and then there's still decisions to be made. So that's kind of where we're at.
Nice. Any comments, Mike? All right. One of the things that we talked about earlier is when it comes time to rebuild our economy.
Right.
We're going to be working overtime. In 2008, there was a stimulus package that came out of the federal government, went to local governments, and we were told this money is available to you if you have shovel-ready projects. We happen to have one. It was the chip sealing on Wheatland Road, kind of in the same area. And so we were able to get that money and get that project done through ARRA funds. This could be the same thing, this forward with what's already been approved. And so it's appropriate to do it today. And if we can have something shovel ready, if you have the same opportunity, we can help to kickstart our economy when we're able to do that. So
And and I guess another thing to mention is that the EDA, which is Economic Development Administration, is aware of this project, and they're wanting to participate.
yes,
And so they were just waiting for us to get our district formed and to kind of get our things in order. I think we stand a really good chance.
absolutely.
Anyway, I guess that's all I had to add. Are there any questions from anybody?
No, sir.
All right. Is there a motion then? We're at the decision phase. Motion to adopt this resolution?
Yes, I will make a motion to adopt this resolution. Oh, let's see if I'm sure I get the right wording, to authorize tax increment financing for the Wheatland Target Economic Development District. District owned and operated sewer system, and the cost for issuing said bonds.
I will second.
All right, it's been moved and seconded to adopt a resolution of the Broward County Commissioners authorizing the Wheatland Water and Sewer District Sewer System Construction Project as a tax increment financing project of the Wheatland Targeted Economic Development District and authorizing the procurement of final terms for a TIF secured bond to be issued for the purpose of financing the design and construction of a district-owned and operated sewer system and the costs of issuing said bond. And any public comments? All right, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye, motion carries. Pass this over to you guys. All right, I'm gonna ask Sharon to come in real quick. You can come, because you're the expert on this.
Good morning, gentlemen and ladies.
Hello. So this item on the agenda is trust board approval of Wings all-terrain bid for Silos Recreation Area, parking project, parking lot project, gazebo improvements, increasing spending authority to $90,000 for those improvements, closure of parking area for those for 2 weeks, and a boat launch debit credit card equipment. Before we get started, we have two just housekeeping items that we do every year for the silos. And this is the seasonal system start form. And I filled it out just using last year's startup form from 2009, if you guys want to see that. And we just need to agree to sign it and send it off to DEQ. And that's for the water system so that people have potable water. And then the other thing I have here is the 2020 work plan for the silos. This was emailed to you guys this morning, and I got the updated numbers from Sharon also this morning. So they're in that. We need to approve that as well if you guys are so inclined.
I'll make a motion to approve the season startup.
It's been moved and seconded to sign and approve the seasonal startup fund paperwork for the Silos Recreation Area. Any public comment? All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carries. Carol, could you throw that too?
We cleaned the table. Well, I didn't want us- I didn't want us lying.
No more grease.
Yeah.
If you guys are good with the letter, we can go ahead and move on to the trust board requests.
Laura, is that startup form something that I should have?
Yeah, probably. We'll get you a copy. In fact, I have a copy right here if you want
Because
mine.
I'm bringing water samples today or tomorrow, and that officially the testing of the water, but I forgot whether last year there was something more in there that I should have.
Yeah, this one is not, you know what, I can just sign it since you just signed it. I just took a copy so I have it.
I just remember that from last year.
Is that good with you, Ann? Thank you.
Okay, so are you looking for a motion on the fourth time?
Yeah,
You know, some of this is already in play.
Yeah.
Which we're gonna talk about here in a moment. So yeah, no, I think this plan looks good. And then we still haven't had our annual little walkthrough, have we, with the DOR? That hasn't happened yet. Yeah, I just-
no, it's generally in August at the end of
Oh,
the
is that
season.
what it is? I thought it was in the spring before we got going, but, okay.
It was in August, and then we took their list.
And they got their list, okay. And how have we done on that list, Shannon? We worked through them.
Everything they said
Pretty good.
they needed is done.
Wonderful. All right, I guess I will make a motion to approve the work plan for 2020 for Silas Recreation Area.
I'll second the motion.
All right, it's been moved and seconded to approve the work plan for 2020 for the Silos Recreation Area at Canyon Ferry. Any public comment? All right, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye, have those files, you guys will have that for filling out next year. It's a lot easier just because the questions are the same, the answers don't change. Okay, so before we get started on the list of trust board requests, I did find a sentence that I want to make sure that we clarify for the public. And it's in the second paragraph of the letter from Debbie dated March 31, 2020. And it says, please keep in mind that all, in caps, of these funds are from the trust board, none of it from county funds. And I think what she means to say, not property tax money, but it is county funds. Every penny the trust board has belongs to the county citizens. So sometimes that's, and it's been brought to public meetings that it's trust board money, it's county money, it's county citizens money. So the first one we have on our approving Wings All-Terrain for the project of reconstructing and building up and mag chloriding the boat launch parking lot and road.
So I guess along with that, you guys received their scope of work. Things that
I did just,
go ahead, take a look. I guess the only concern that was expressed by the trust board was having kind of more of a proper contract with them. So I did reach out to Corey. He was trying to find something maybe from Mako, kind of construction related contract. But he's been called away on a family emergency. I'm not quite sure where we stand with that. So, but reading their scope of work, I mean, it details what they want to do. But I do think we should have maybe some type of contract that the county presents. That's one thing.
Here's my concern. I think I agree with you. However, we're in April.
Right.
We're talking, and I would defer to you on some of this, Sharon, a 2-week closure of anybody going out bowling. One of the few recreational things that you can do and still social distance yourself and get fresh air, vitamin D, get outside. And at the very beginning of the season, we're talking about a closure. This really was supposed to be done in February. I know things take longer, but if we're now going to wait on a contract and then impose a 2-week closure, I'm worried that we might have to delay until this fall and just do a Band-Aid immediately with the potholes. Or come up with a new plan that doesn't require a closure. Sharon, do you have any thoughts on any of that?
Well, if I had my choice, knowing what's going on now, I would delay it. We've already got, by the time I left, we probably had 20 boats down there. My concern is if we close it for 2 weeks, starting any 2 weeks now or a week from now and then 2 weeks, I'm not sure where 60 boats and trailers are going to park, because the only thing we'll have left to launch is the north ramp, which has no parking to speak of, and the south ramp, which also has no parking, maybe 3 or 4. So I'm concerned about what people are going to do with their trucks and the trailers, because they're going to be fishing. They're so housebound at this point that they're going to be there. They're already there. So if I had my choice, I mean, and I'm all for the repavement or the redo of the parking lot, I'd wait. Just because I don't know what they're going to do. I don't know where they're going to go and park all those vehicles.
Well, if they launch out of the south when they can, because the campground shut down, is it not?
Well, that's the other thing, not as of this moment. And we have not heard, we got a preliminary press release, I think Laura did, last Thursday or Friday. And it was only preliminary, it was not final, right, as far as I know.
That is correct.
So right now, it's the status quo. Even if we got it right now, it says they can use it during the day, but not overnight. And I don't understand the difference in that at all, but that's probably not mine to reason. But even if they had it during the day, the issue still is, where are they going to put their trucks and their boat trailers? So unless I'm missing something.
Well, I guess it's one of those things that we've gone this far. I mean, the trust board has stepped up. They're willing
Right.
to volunteer their time to get this project done. I really don't want to delay it more than we have to.
Okay.
And is the lake level at a point where the Bloodwater Bay is kind of difficult to use? I mean, that's what I've heard.
It's low, but
Yeah.
they'll use it. I mean, you're not going to stop a fisherman.
Right, I understand.
So, and they're going out now. It's the same, do you have a boat? Are you?
No.
Okay. At the bay, at the mouth of the bay where you go out into the lake, that's the same situation as every single year. You stay to the north where you get high centered on the south side. But every fisherman that's been on Canyon Ferry knows that, and we warn them of that. So, yeah, they're using it.
So would this be an opportunity for us to take advantage of that lower lake level and maybe not have a greater impact on our boaters now rather than later on? Just a thought.
Well, the later on, if you did it, it would have to go. No, you're right. The later on would have to be, I guess, just before ice. Because October, they're still fishing, September, they're still fishing. So you're right in that respect. If you moved it forward, I guess it would have to be almost a year forward or to February of 21. And I'm not saying, I mean, I'm all for the project. It's just, I don't know what we're gonna do with 50 or 60 pickups pulling
Here's the other concern that I've seen.
myself.
Is you've got right now at the launch, you've got 3 very nice ramps to put your boat in. That means 3 people with 6 feet apart can be putting their boats in at one time. The north ramp is singular, the south ramp is singular. You're talking 80 boats right now. You funnel 60 into 2 singulars without much parking. You are going to elevate the hostilities with people wanting to get in next, with people waiting, with what they do with their boats when they get in trucks, because there's a courtesy dock there. There are some issues that will become more complicated. If you want to do it now, I'm with Sharon. I think this is awesome, and I'm very proud of the trust board for stepping up. But I am concerned about the time of year. I am concerned about people needing to get out. If you want to do it now, maybe we have a vote that says we approve this immediately with a contract that's going to be immediate. We can maybe work with Peter to get that done. Vote on it in concept and then have an email, all 3 of us approve it. And get that done in the next day or 2. And then try and see if we can't get Wings All Terrain to get us under 2 weeks and do it immediately.
It's my understanding that he's ready to go as soon as.
He is now?
Like right now. If we give him the approval, as soon as we can, he's ready to go. And he can get this done in 2 weeks. I think this is an opportune time for us to get this done. And I guess maybe the excitement of this project.
And I think the thing is that it doesn't matter when we do it. And when the weather's nice enough to do this project, you're gonna impact these people.
Right.
Because if you wait until February and the ground's froze, you can't do anything, wait till October, you're fighting weather coming in. I think we're better off just to call them up today and say, you need to start this project right now. And get it done, and then we'll worry about the contract. Now, like I said, we can get that ironed out today. Whenever we get it ironed out, but we want to have this guy in here. If he's ready to go, let's get him going. Because 60 is going to become 80, and that's going to become 100.
Will he work weekend? That's the other thing. Will he work weekends or what?
He said he's gonna work,
Until it's
he's gonna
done.
dedicate his whole crew to getting this project done.
One thing that we could do if it becomes a burden or cumbersome to what's going on, we could have another area for them by the camp host. There's a big giant field in there.
Sure.
We could have some signs made if it becomes a big issue and put them there.
Yeah, I mean, I'd like to pursue that if we can, Karen.
Okay.
If it comes to that, then let's do
Okay.
that.
Well, and if they're in there and if they work quickly, if they work dawn to dusk, I'm guessing they could shave that off a little bit. And maybe if whoever's the spokesman or for, what's their name again?
Wings All Terrain.
Okay. If they could check in with, somebody could check in with me either by phone, just so I'll know the progress, because people are already calling and asking.
Right.
So, and I'm sure because I have the camp host there now. So I'm sure that we can redirect some traffic to make that happen if that's what we're gonna do.
Right.
Especially if they start right now.
Go ahead, Nicole. You have a comment?
We have comments, and I just wanted to make that known, so whenever you're ready for
Yeah.
public comment.
We'll take those in just a few minutes. Thank you.
Um,
So, you guys good then with, if we vote on this today, that we go ahead and send them a message to go ahead and get started, and we close this for the time that it's required?
I
Okay,
agree.
all right, so, then what we'll do is take a motion in a second, and then we'll call for public comment.
So I'll make a motion to award and approve Wings All Terrain doing the parking lot project for a total of $74,750 with a email order to proceed immediately.
No, second.
Right, it has been moved and seconded to approve Wings All Terrain for the parking lot project for a total cost of $74,750 with a email confirmation to proceed immediately. This includes a 2-week closure of the parking area. And any public comment? And that is to you, Nicole.
Yes. So this is coming from Steve McCullough. Steve McCullough states that launching is still available. Comment number 2, still from Steve McCullough, lots and lots of parking available. Comment number 3 from Steve McCullough, the boat launch is nearly non-usable due to low water now. Time to close the lot is now or to proceed.
Any other comments there, Nicole?
That is it.
All right, thank you very much. Sharon, thank you very much for your expertise. Do you have any final comments at all? Not to put you on the spot if you don't.
Oh, no, I was thinking out loud, not out loud. The closure of the campground. Do we have
let's-
any access? Can we call BOR and find out what they're gonna do?
We can. Yeah, we can follow up on that.
Generally, they don't like to talk to me unless it's through one of you guys. Okay, I guess that's it, because people are called, because I've got gazebo rentals all the way through. And I've already told one of them not to come. I have another one in a couple of days. So that, I suppose, is my biggest concern, whether or not we're going to be able to allow people to access the campground.
Yeah, we'll follow up with BOR again today
Okay,
and see if we can't get it a date time.
all right.
And then the other question I have for you later with this is Mike was thinking about doing the
Oh, he
power
t-
washing on Thursday?
He told me Thursday
Okay.
at 2. That was the other thing I had written down. Thursday at 2, Mike is gonna start pressure washing the gazebos and, so he's, whatever, the project to pressure wash
And paint,
Pressure washer.
and paint
and paint, yep.
and maybe the ridge caps. I forget what was all involved
That's
in that.
actually a request from the trust board to do some work
Okay.
on the roofs. And they can coordinate with you, right, Sharon? To make
Yes.
sure that they're not rented out
Yes,
during the.
well, they are, but they won't be, and I'll just blame that on the BOR and whatever. Because they're not here, that's why we can do that.
Besides that, their shoulders are behind.
Yes, they
That's
are.
right.
Totally. So no, other than that, we have our camp host down there and he's already beginning to, he's a very experienced, if you guys are down there, he was a cop for 11 years. He's been a camp host on and off. He's got a very widely talented background. So if you're down, stop and say hey to him. But he's already started, they're both, he and his wife, for picking up garbage for whatever, 1.5 miles. And so we're, oh, and the restrooms, so you will know, are being cleaned daily with Pine Sol and also at least once a day, door handles and that sort of thing. We're going down and wiping off, even though it won't last all day, but we are going to do that at least once a day. So,
I'm
Thank
not
you.
sure, I know in the BLM memo that they weren't opening their restrooms.
Correct.
So I don't know, that might be a part of the directive we get from BOR as well, but you'll know.
well, the preliminary one said they couldn't guarantee the restrooms would be clean. That's how they,
Okay, and that might be how they stated it.
Dan said that would be up to us.
Yeah.
So I did
but either
clarify
way,
that
they
with
will
Dan.
be clean and disinfected every single day, just so you will know.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Sharon.
Thanks, Sharon.
Thank
You're
you,
welcome.
Sharon.
Have a good day, stay healthy.
You too. So with that, let's go ahead and call the parking lot project to a vote. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye, motion carries. Okay, so then the second one then is to authorize an increase to the spending authority from $50,000 for the full project to $90,000 for the project. And that will include the work to gazebos 1 and 2, estimated at $700 a piece. And this to be completed by maintenance staff of Broadwater County. Paint to be purchased by the trust board. And the roof repairs will be about $1,530 with Tri Rivers.
And that also includes the pay station.
No, that one we need to talk about.
Okay. But the $90,000 includes the pay station.
Okay, so do you want to change that? Well, okay, let's go ahead and take that off of this discussion and just approve, if you guys are interested, gazebos number 1 and 2, $700 each for power washing and paint by staff and the trust board, and then the roof repairs for $1,530 and contract to Tri Rivers.
So I'll make that motion to approve the power washer, $700 per gazebo, and the roof repairs for $1,530.
Second.
All right, it has been moved and seconded to authorize the power washing at the gazebos and the roof repairs at $700 each for the painting and power wash, $1,530 for the roof repair, and with Tri Rivers. All those in favor, please, public comment? All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carries. So the pay station, this year, we have our economy that is demolished right now. We've got some very serious issues coming forward with COVID-19. We're unable to hold meetings and we can't have any public hearings. We have a lot of people that want to be heard about the pay station, about the launch fee, about the yearly fee, about the $5 fee, and we can't accommodate that. So we can't authorize the increase in that fee until we have a public hearing. After we have a public hearing and approve it, then we can move forward with the equipment, with the signage. But we should not be buying equipment and signage for a meeting that we can't have yet. One of the reasons for that is we cannot come into a meeting with our minds made up. We're supposed to hear public comment, public deliberation, everything the public has to give us, take that into account, and then render our decision and tell people why we voted yay or nay. Well, if we buy all the equipment to impose a launch fee increase, then we've circumvented the entire public hearing process. We've undercut citizens of Broadwater County who have an opinion on this and have not given them a chance at public participation, which is a constitutional violation. So for that reason, I think we should hold off on that. It may delay it a year. Not so sure the increase in fees this year with what has happened with COVID-19 is a smart idea anyway. Those are all my opinions on this thrown out on the table, but the constitutional violation is the most serious in my opinion. That not that we have, but we would potentially be doing that.
Oh, yeah, I see what you're saying. So I guess we don't know when we're gonna have our next meeting, but should we put that on our agenda then to have the public hearing as far as the book launch fees?
When? So how many people are gonna show up for that? Far more than 10.
Yeah.
Well, no, far more than 5, because there's already 5 of us here. That allows us to have 5 more people. For a public hearing, to think that is that emotional and personal to people, they're gonna want their voices heard. And there's gonna be a lot more than 9. And just live streaming isn't going to give them the right to participate
And we still
for
have
something they care so much about.
I think to submit email or written comments as well.
Well, the whole thing when we started this meeting was we're only gonna be dealing with those things that are emergencies, not those things that the public has a strong opinion on. I would not feel comfortable with that. And I think by the time we're gonna be able to have a proper public hearing, we're talking May or June. The season has already started. I just don't see any way that we're gonna get it done this year. And if we can, it's gonna be later on this spring, early summer.
And I don't disagree with that, but I don't think that you're gonna get a whole lot of protests from people charging $5 a day to launch a boat. I think, could we advertise it for our next meeting, say is in 2 weeks? Advertise that we would request that anyone with any comments send us either a written comment or an email. That gives them 2 weeks to make a comment.
I'm not comfortable with that. It violates their right to participate. It is a big deal to people. I agree with you, $5 is not a lot of money. I don't think they're standing on $5. I think they're standing on the principle that we've never charged this before and they want their voices heard. I have gotten a lot of comments. If it's something that is very emotional to people, I don't think we have any business dealing with it when we cannot allow them a chance to be heard. And that's the reality of this COVID-19 and social distancing.
Well, I agree with Mike. I mean, 2 weeks is, I think there's ample opportunity for people to either, they can call us, because I know our phone numbers are in the paper every week. It's on our county website. They have opportunity to send an email, written. I think 2 weeks is plenty of opportunity to provide that public comment.
Is there something that we can put online, some kind of a poll to put online that could give us a substantial answers?
Oh yeah, definitely. There's options for that.
It's not, public participation is not majority rules. Our vote 2-1 or 3-0 is majority rules. But we could have 100 people here saying yes or no, and we could have one saying the opposite, and that one has exactly the same right to be heard as those 100. That's what we're talking about, is the right to participate. Yes, people can do a phone call and let somebody else speak for them. Yes, they can write a letter. Yes, they can get online if they have the computer and the internet. Not everybody does. We're doing the best we can to reach people with this social distancing, but this would not comply with public participation laws, except for this state of emergency that we're currently in. So what we agreed to before this meeting, and what there was no argument to at the beginning of this meeting, was we are just going to take care of the emergent items, not necessarily those things that there is strong public opinion on. So, you guys want to move on?
Well, I'm just reading the directive that we got from the Attorney General on how to conduct these meetings in the abnormal circumstances that we find ourselves in. It says members of the public must be provided a reasonable opportunity to comment on both items on the agenda and on other matters not on the agenda, either through participation via remote communication system or by other reasonable means. All members of the governing body and public must be able to reasonably observe all materials reviewed and discussed by the governing body during the meeting. The local government may determine the best procedure for submitting materials to the governing body prior to or during the meeting, so long as the public can access the agenda and all related materials through one of the following methods. the local government website, meeting and conferencing platform used for the meeting, or on an individual basis by email, mail in person, or other method described in the notice of the meeting. So,
So you're gonna tell me that in a pandemic, that this launch fee is a life or death?
no, I'm
Emergency.
not saying that.
Okay,
I'm
because I'm
just,
just
I'm
trying
just
to
saying that,
clarify.
I'm just saying that if we were to proceed with this, that by giving 2 weeks of notice, should give the public opportunity, give plenty of time to make their comments known. That's all I'm saying.
And I hear the comment, what I don't hear is that this is an emergency.
Yeah.
We agreed that we were gonna deal with emergent issues. That TED, the Water Sewer District, fits that description because it gives us the chance to jumpstart our economy. Charging a fee for launching doesn't affect economy. It isn't emergent. And we cannot comply with allowing people to be heard in a way that they should for something that's not an emergency and is extremely emotional and personal to people. That's my argument. And I so
I would just assume that we proceed with that, because the thing is that that's the way that things were set up was the idea was to generate income to improve things at the campground. If we don't do it this year, we're gonna be a year behind. Another thing, if we delayed it a month, that gives people a month to make a comment. We see if we can't have the BOR put out a release, the same as they do with campgrounds, saying that there's gonna be a pay station implemented at Canyon Ferry. The proceeds go to the boat launch in the camp areas. Give people a month to comment. If they can't make a comment in a month, then we could also put up a comment box out at the boat launch. People wanna put a comment in there that are already launched, and they can put a comment in there. I don't think that, the generality of the discussion with the trust board was that nobody was gonna object to a $5 launch, day launch. It's commonly, most places it's $10, so it's half price already. I don't see where we're gonna get a bunch of comments that are gonna be negative as far as that goes. I think if we could have the BOR assist us in putting a release out that this is being considered, and we, due to the emergency, then you have to make your comment either in email, or a phone conversation. And if they're that passionate about it, they'll make a comment. And that's as good as being heard.
first of all, a month, we may be done with this. We've heard that this may extend through the end of April. So a month is beginning of May. So I would suggest we wait and see what happens with that. We've already heard complaints at a trust board meeting. So if the trust board is saying nobody's going to complain, then they didn't hear people at their own meeting who were complaining. So yeah, if you want to wait a month, I'm good with that. My issue is this is very personal to a lot of people. And if we can have them come to a meeting to be heard, or at least open the doors for them to be heard, then we have done our due diligence. If we slide this in at a time when they cannot be heard other than these other means, which they will not be happy with, we are not giving them a fair shot. So if you're good with waiting a month, I'm fine with that. Okay,
Can we receive the public comment during that period? So can we advertise it now and receive a public comment for this month period?
Yeah.
I think that we could do that, right?
I would think so, yeah.
And then we'll have our,
yes, as long as
Or
the
during the month.
advertisement states that the public hearing will be when we can meet in person.
I'm fine.
That would be fine.
Yeah, no, I'm fine.
Yeah.
Okay. Whatever you guys write up, we all three should see it prior to this being published by the commission.
Nicole, also.
All right, Nicole.
Public comment whenever you're ready.
All right, let's hold off on that for just a second, because do you want to go ahead then and that's how we're going to proceed? Or do you want to authorize the 50,000 to go up to 80 for this, or to deal with it after when we know the exact numbers and after our meeting in a month or so? Because it doesn't have to be done right now.
Oh, I see, just hold out the amount of the pay station?
Yeah.
And revisit it in a month?
Right.
Yeah.
We can do it either way. We can just
Yeah.
table the whole thing
Yeah,
or postpone the whole thing.
yeah, we'll
Okay,
just do that, we'll just revisit it in a month.
okay.
Yeah.
All right. So with that, yes, we'll take public comment.
Okay. This is coming from Dave Klaus. He states, opening an online public comment period would be a great idea. Let's see what you get. You don't have to make any decisions for or against, but you will learn if comments online is even possible.
And I think he's absolutely right. My argument is that can't be the only mode of communication. Thanks, Dave. Any others?
No.
All right. Okay, so we are in agreement on how to proceed. Anything else on the trust board?
Well, here's another question, I guess, we're also we're asking to raise the camping fee to $12. We want to do that in that, we want to keep it separate.
Two things on that, I think. But the deal was we were gonna fix those roads as the front end, the back end raised those fees. One, those roads aren't getting addressed. And two, the season started 6 days ago. Again, to change the fees in the middle of the season wreaks havoc and becomes very difficult for whoever your manager is. For the boat launch fees, your manager is the county and the trust board. Okay, fine, we'll deal with what we have to. For the campground fees, you're putting down the people who work at the side of the store and their computer system and their accounting system. Yes, it could be done, but I think it's incredibly inappropriate to change fees. And
So
affiliate that
Sharon
money.
didn't already do that even after we had the discussion last fall,
No,
raising the
because,
fees.
no, because our agreement was fix the road, then raise the fees.
Oh, I thought we were
We
gonna
didn't fix
raise
the
the
road.
fees, the camping fees regardless.
No, it was part of the package. And plus, we have to have a public hearing to raise those fees. We can't have a public hearing. Yes,
Okay.
Nicole.
Charging a fee, just preparing for future needs.
But if we authorize the purchase of something that the public has not had a chance to weigh in on, it pretty much raises the flag that this commission has already made a decision and public comment doesn't matter. I will not stand by and be a part of that.
No, I agree,
Okay,
just go the direction we decided.
all right. Any other public comment?
Maybe give it just a minute if someone's typing. before
Okay.
moving on.
All right, so trust board is done. And if something else comes up, we'll go ahead and throw that in.
Okay.
Next, we have public health. So we have a couple of things here. We have the Homemaker and Respite and Skilled Nursing Program Grant, a task order for COVID funding. Teresa and her staff have been working well over 24/7 on this thing. So there is some assistance in funding from the state. We also have another task order here for a rental agreement, and then also a task order for immunization. So first one is, this is from First Choice Health, Lori Smith, and this is Broadwater County allows the Broadwater County Public Health Department to use office space within the Broadwater County owned building. And this is just a credentialing, kind of a just paperwork that's needed so that they can have their paperwork all in full.
I guess I'll make a motion to sign the Lua certificate of occupancy for First Choice Health.
And I'll second that motion.
Right, it has been moved and seconded to sign the certificate of occupancy for the Public Health Department. All those in public comment? All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye,
Aye.
motion carries. So next we have the grant. This is with Rocky Mountain Development Council through the Agency on Aging and Closure. Agency on Aging works under Rocky Mountain Development Council, but I am on the governing board for Agency on Aging.
I'll make the motion to approve the Brunswick Public Health Department applying for the grant for the homemade respite skilled nurse programs.
And I'll second that. I know this is something that we wanted to do earlier, but we kind of got into this. Took away from what we needed to get done.
And the Agency on Aging is advisory now under Rocky Mountain Development Council, so I will, we have a first and a second to sign the homemaker respite and skilled nursing care grant for public health. All those in public comment? All right, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carries. I have been in contact a lot with Lori Mattis. And I'll explain to her why that is so delayed. So the task order for DPHHS is to enhance local public health capacity to respond to events and COVID-19. So this is a task order with DPHHS to help fund our public health through this pandemic.
I'll make a motion to approve the task order.
So I know some folks are interested in the amount, and this is the correct amount, 28,265. Okay. They okay. Okay. I'll second the motion to approve the task order.
Right, it has been moved and seconded to approve the task order with DPHHS COVID-19 funding for public health in Broadwater County, sum of $28,260. All those in favor, public comment? All right, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carries. All right, and finally, a task order for immunizations. This is also from DPHHS to Broadwater Public Health, and the sum is $5,153.
Will that go up when they get a vaccine for corona?
Who knows? Yeah. Um, Very likely,
Because that goes through 2026.
yeah. Especially since, and I don't know how this is gonna work, but how they've said that if we've been connected with that will be paid for by the feds. So it seems to me that would be an increase for public health to handle that.
Then I'll second the motion.
It has been moved and seconded to sign the immunization task order with DPHHS for Broadwater County Public Health in the amount of $5,153. Any public comment? Okay, all those in favor of the motion, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carries. Okay, so the airport. Airport has a credit card machine for allowing pilots to come in and buy gas. Not too long ago, there was a error or a hacking, and there was a refund that was issued that was not authorized. So the company in Missoula would like us to fill out the contract, the agreement for that equipment and for taking credit cards. And then they will go ahead and do a reset. And we do have a new bank now. So we just have a new contract we need to fill out. It does have some questions for the airport, so I thought I'd give it to you, Daryl, and ask you to fill it out.
Sure.
And then upon completion, we could go ahead and get it to Mayor Evans. And we could either vote on it today, provided that we agree with what's filled out, or come back in 2 weeks. But what it means is the airport cannot sell fuel until that's done.
Okay.
So that would be the reason for expediting. Because again, airplane, pilots, this is something people can do while social distancing and get out of the house and get fresh air and vitamin D. So if it's good with you guys, I would approve or be in support of a motion that said we approve this of re-upping the information upon email review and documented okay.
So is it the highlighted areas, is that the stuff that the airport needs to fill out?
Yeah, and the email on the front is the instructions for what needs to be filled out. Mike Ferguson is aware of this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
A little bit there last night, and like you said, he's aware and he'll just come, so. Okay, yeah, I will get this, help them get this taken care of.
Thank you very much. Are you guys good with that kind of a vote rather than revisiting this in 2 weeks or so?
I'm good with that.
Okay, so, if one of you wants to make the motion, we can go ahead and have that out there then.
And we can motion that we approve the, I guess the signing of the new contract for the company. It's,
Big Sky Commerce.
Big Sky Commerce.
Yeah.
Yeah. Upon completion of the application and signing by the area.
Yeah, second, Mike?
I will second that motion.
All right, it's been moved and seconded to approve the contract with Big Sky Commerce. It is an update to the existing commerce of the motion. Please signify by saying aye. Aye, motion carries. So if this was a new contract, probably wouldn't be something to do this way, but it's just an update with the new bank and to reset the machine.
Okay.
All right. Okay, we have Mary outside, so I'm gonna go grab her for the next one. Did you hear me, Mary? All right, so the next agenda item is Public Works Plan and Contract for Public Works Operations. So the first thing we need to do is decide, are we going to go back to having a supervisor for solid waste, and a supervisor for road, and a supervisor for weed, and a supervisor for mosquito? Or stick with what we have now, which is a public works supervisor that oversees solid waste, road, weed, and mosquito. Or make a third step and have a public works supervisor that oversees just solid waste and roads. And then have weed and mosquito as a standalone, which I understand you route forward. So how do you guys want the management of those departments to look moving forward?
Well, I'm always kind of a pros and cons guy, you know. I kind of like to make a list of the advantages and disadvantages of both. And, I mean, if we were to stay the way, if we were to rehire the public works director, then things probably wouldn't change operation, right? Because someone new there that would take that position over and then would continue on as they have in the past. And then, yeah, I think there's others is there just don't have responsibilities for the commission, right? Yeah. If we go back the other direction, and I guess I wasn't here when you guys made that decision. And I know you have a lot of good reasons for making that decision. If we go back that way, then there's added responsibility for us to manage. The government would be kind of basically managing those departments overall, right? Is that how that was set up? Where you had supervisors that managed them, communicated with the commission as far as for budget and
Right.
and when they had to make big decisions for expensive items and things like that. Is that how that worked?
They were just like any other department that we have today. So Teresa, Nicole, Mike, we just had 3 more supervisors rather than 1. So, yeah, that's how it works. So, added responsibility, yeah.
A little bit.
Right. Added cost, yes. So 3 supervisors versus 1, you're obviously paying more for 3. What really took us in the direction of wanting a public works supervisor was we had more of this between those departments than any kind of cohesion, communication, cooperation, sharing of equipment. It really was almost an oil and water situation, personality conflicts, and kind of over the years, silos have been built. This is mine, and we weren't sharing between the 2. Bringing in a public works director kind of brought those departments together in more ways than one. Yes, sharing equipment, cost savings for sure, but also joint departmental trainings that have been just for public works. Also lunch events, which have not cost the county anything. But when people join together over food, they bond. And creating friendships is a great way to keep that cohesion and cooperation going. So those were the reasons that we looked at it. Those are some of the benefits that came of it.
How about now that we've done this for a while, the impact on the various departments for administrative fees? Has that been, I mean, I guess has it been an issue as far as does it limit them in things that they could possibly do? I guess what I'm thinking, a smaller department like say the weeds and mosquitoes, I mean, their budget is somewhat quite a bit smaller than say solid waste and road and bridge. So the impact on them is probably a lot more than it would be for solid waste, road and bridge.
Yeah, but it's they're charged a different percentage than road. roads and solid waste are probably charged a third a piece, and then mosquito and everybody's charged a sixth, because they really only pay a half. So those administrative fees aren't that big of an impact on their budget. The question I would have is the involvement with, the actual involvement with that, with those programs.
Okay.
One thing at the beginning of the season that we talked about was spraying weeds and road maintenance, mowing at the same time, or at least coordinating those efforts. We didn't have that ability in the past. Regardless if the Public Works Director over weed and mosquito, I think we have a good enough relationship built that that could continue now. And if that was something that you guys wanted to look at dividing out, we could do it on a trial basis. Maybe a 6-month review type thing to see how it worked through the season. We can always go back and put it under Public Works, or we could leave it separate. Nothing that we decide has to be forever.
Sure.
Yeah, and reevaluating is certainly not a bad idea on an ongoing basis anyway.
And the other part of that too is that having weeds and mosquito in there, we could share employees back and forth between weed and mosquito, because you can't really get them on a solid waste or road. Weed and mosquito can interact with each other a lot easier than any other departments can. And that also concerns the licensing aspect of it also.
Right.
And that was the other thing, the Public Works Director, we required that they get licensed for both weed and mosquito.
Sure.
Because when we lost a coordinator, years ago, Pam took a job up in Conrad, and that was in July. Beginning of July, we had nobody.
Sure.
Having a director who is also licensed and then a coordinator who's also licensed gives you 2 people that can get the job done, or at least contract to make sure the job gets done.
Mhm.
Because employees can work under either one. And again, if we wanted to separate weed and mosquito, and we still had the director with that licensure, if somebody left, they still have the ability to just put that right under Public Works and work under that license. So again, it allows us a lot of fluidity there that, again, lets us get the job done.
And so the thought would be is, or one of the thoughts would be to hire another Public Works Director to handle for road grades, solid waste. Is that kind of what we're talking about?
So the only reason I brought that forward is because you had sent an email that you were kind of looking at that, which is something that we can certainly compromise and negotiate on. I would say this, taking away the hiring somebody, what's the structure of the departments is what we really need to decide. Is the structure of the departments Public Works Director over the 3 or 2 departments? Or do we want to divide them into their own individual departments again? My preference would be Public Works Director over the 3, well, the 4. But if you guys want, I'd be willing to compromise just over solid waste and road, because they really do need to be cohesive. And then weed and mosquito can be separate as a compromise.
Sure.
But I don't want to lose the Public Works Director.
And I'd almost be more inclined to stay with the way we have it, except for maybe take some of the, maybe reduce some of the funding that we're getting from weed and mosquito. Maybe take that into a half. Maybe make it 25% and then make the road and solid waste at 75% of that.
I think that makes a lot of sense. Even a 40-40-20 makes a lot of sense because they just don't take nearly the time
They don't.
that the other
Yeah.
two do.
They don't. And, you know, I think,
And I think the other part of that too is if we were to do that is that we could maybe bump her, because I think that she is a good enough employee that if we don't pay attention to her pay scale, we're going to lose her.
I agree.
I think that that's the same, both that we were married, that if we don't pay attention, we're gonna lose an employee, but it's gonna hurt us.
Absolutely. I would say this though, we can't talk about raises.
Right.
Has to be justified under a law.
Correct.
Yeah.
That's, with that, you keep us out of it. Yeah, I'm willing to do something like that, and just, like you suggested, maybe separate weeds and mosquitoes for 6 months and see how it works. And if we feel we need to, we can bring them back in. Just have a supervisor for.
Or keep it all as is now, but change the percentage. Again, to the 40-40-20. 40% is paid by solid waste, 40% by roads, 20% by weed and mosquito, which would be 10% each.
That's interesting.
I think I'd be more inclined to keep them under control of the public works director, but with less contribution.
I'm accepting that.
And review it 6 months.
Maybe in 6 months. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, because that would give us through a season with weeds and mosquitoes. That'll adjust it.
Okay, so the only thing we need to do on that then is vote for the change of percentage if we're in agreement, because we're status quo, except for the change of percentage,
Okay.
which is a financial decision. If you guys are both good with that.
I'm good with that.
Okay. So I would accept a motion
I'll let
then.
Mike make that motion.
Okay.
He kind of suggested that, so.
Okay, I'll make a motion that we retain weeds and mosquito in the public, under the public works director, have the contribution of payouts of the public works director to be 40 roads, 40 solid waste, and 20 for weed and mosquito. Or 10 for weed, 10 for mosquito.
I'll second that motion.
Okay, so the motion has been made and seconded to retain the public works director as is over solid waste, roads, weed, and mosquito, and with the contributions and the payout at 40% for solid waste, 40% for road, 10% for weed, 10% for mosquito. Any public comment?
Yes, we have several. The first one, this is from Ross Johnson. I think that is the route that the county should take, is to go back to separate supervisors for each department. James Green, agreed. We already voted against county manager form of government. Win Meehan, I would say the effective level of management for supervisory to employees is most effective. Supervise is 3 to 5, but no more than 7. Just my opinion. Another comment from Ross Johnson. I think it is impossible to have someone that is knowledgeable in all those areas. Another comment from Ross Johnson. The most common comment I hear is do away with the public works director position. And the final comment I have on here is from Dana Rouser. He says, do away with PWD. It didn't work the first time. You're all crazy if you think it did. A lot of money wasted in the last 2 years.
All right. Thank you, folks, for the public comment. Anything else from the commission? All right, I will call for the vote. All in favor of the motion, please signify by saying aye. Aye, motion carries. Okay, so the second thing we need to direct, or do we want to do a contract for the public works operations? Or, well, I guess the question is, do we want to go ahead and proceed with the contract for public works operations? We started this in January or early February. We've worked with HR, who's carried us through a number of different steps. We've worked with, or at least investigated, Department of Labor. Are we doing things correctly? And we have seen that we are. So the question is, now we are at the 11th hour. Do we want to proceed as we have been? Or what's the debate?
So I guess a way to look at this is how it affects county operations as far as for Canada Savings by doing a contract position versus a full-time employee position. I can see the benefit, I guess, possibly of a contract position if you don't have the expense of benefits. One of the things I think that would happen, well, I guess we know would happen with the contract person is that the commission would have direct supervision of the employees. Right?
Not really. So if you look at how we work right now with HR, so this is a conversation Michelle and I had, and I know she's worked with both of you on this. Right now, the way we have it with all our supervisors is they have to clear everything through us. We have a handle clause. So no supervisor can fire, discipline, address any employee without running that by us. Because by statute, we are responsible for all employees. So there's really no difference. And you've kind of seen that at work, how many issues have come to us. You know, it's more under the guise of, I need your help. And we work with that supervisor and help them with what they're moving forward with. It would be no different. Also with Michelle as our contract HR, she can come in and say, this is my advice to you. We don't have to take it. We're smart to take it and we're dumb not to, but it would be the same thing. There really is very little difference. We would direct this person to issue discipline, to issue hiring documents, trainings. This person needs such and such because of our conversation with you, therefore you will go to this person and deliver this, whatever, coaching, whatever. There really isn't any difference. In bigger counties, I think it works differently. But being a small county, we're really the end and the start with personnel. One thing this does give us is a employee who does something wrong or turns out not to be a great employee, we've got the disciplinary process to follow. And that is months and months of work. It's called the 80-20 rule. So when you have a really good employee, you spend 20% of your energy with that employee. Good morning, how you doing? Thanks for all you're doing. When they become a employee who's trouble, then it flips from 20 to 80. And that 80% is dealing with HR, having meetings, trying to figure out how to coach, realizing the coaching isn't working. 80% of your time is with trying to figure out what to do with this employee. A contract employee, there's a clause in the contract that with 30 days notice that can be terminated. There's no due process required. There's no disciplinary process required. In 30 days, if somebody isn't performing or if something happens, we're done. Now you have a great employee that never comes into play. But if you have a bad employee, it can become really confusing. And that was a suggestion, I understand, of Michelle Edmonds, just have the 30-day in there. What she had said is, number one, as an employer, if you're not getting along, you don't want to keep somebody. And as an employee or a contract, if you're not getting along with the contractor, or you don't want to stay on that anyway. So it kind of makes sense. And I think it makes sense for both sides.
So in essence, when you have this contract, in reality, it's a 30-day contract.
Yeah, you could look at it that way.
Even if you have it for a year, it's still a 30-day contract, because either party can terminate it within 30 days, right?
Mhm. Yep. Which is also good to the county because an employee doesn't have to give you notice. We like people to give 2 weeks notice, but there's no legal requirement. This would be a legal requirement to have 30 days notice to figure out a next step. So it's really a win-win for the county side. Not so much for Mary's side.
Would we have to consider restructuring, like, say, solid waste and road and bridge to put somebody to actually in more of the supervisory position in those departments? Or not?
I would think you would.
We already have. So we had a foreman in the road department. And then we do who's been just by work ethic,
Information.
right? Yeah, been stepping up into that foreman position. Foreman or whatever term we decide to use.
Right.
But yeah, we always had a foreman for road, so no change there, but yes, you're right, solid waste, there is a change. A potential change, and again, it kind of already happened
Mhm.
by
And I would-
nature.
I would think that if we're gonna go that way, then we need to restructure that. Because the money that we're saving in benefits should be able to give money that we should be able to give whoever we fill that position with. They're gonna have more responsibility, and the other part of that is that by giving them that added responsibility, particularly in roads, the added responsibility to whoever gets there, that's gonna affect the amount of time they're gonna be an operator.
Right.
So you're maybe looking at, maybe you're gonna have to get another operator. Because, and I don't think that it's not a question of we don't have any more roads. It's a question of a hell of a lot more people driving on our roads. That's what the issue is. It's not that we don't have any more roads. We got more people driving. And I think that, you're gonna have to, that's a move that's gonna have to be made. I think whether you maintain a public works director, if you have a contracted public works director, I think that's the direction you have to go. Because it's not fair to those guys to ask them to continue to do that work without giving them some kind of adjustment.
I agree. And I think in the situation with the road department, since they're a union shop, I think we have to check this out with that supervisor. I think if they move into a management position, they might not be able to be in the union. We have to check that out. Sure, that's
Do
correct.
you know how that would be, Mayor?
Sounds right.
He has to not be part of the union.
So we have to make a small change there.
But we did make sure that the contract didn't exclude a working manager from operations.
Right, that's an important, we need to make sure that's. Because I've been involved in those situations before.
So we
Makes it difficult.
what you're saying is we would have to make that exception that just because he's manager doesn't mean he can't be an operator.
So we have to work through that.
Yeah, but I think we already have the paved road, it's just a matter of making sure we're on the right road. And I understand the savings to the county overall per year for the change would be about $36,000, especially in February. That's a lot to be able to have for those departments for increased operations. So if we were to put this just as an advertisement, we could expect to pay for a contracted position of this magnitude with this kind of expertise, $90 to $150 an hour. And that's based on what we're paying now, and what we paid in the past. We have an offer of $33 an hour right now for merit. And full-time, because I think this is not something that we part-time. So we talked about $33 an hour, full-time hours, and with a review at 6 months. We have the contract. We could go ahead and get that done now, and we don't have to worry about during this pandemic and needing to rebuild our economy, worrying about some of the issues that are coming up in departments that don't have supervision.
Well, I think we need to follow our policy that requires us to do an advertisement. I think if we were just to place somebody in that position right now, I think that's the thing to do. I know it'll take a little bit longer for us to select that person. And that gives everybody an opportunity to participate in this contract, this job that we're talking about.
I'm going to share a couple of things that I'm concerned about. First of all, you said follow our policy. So we are until we advertise or put this out to bid. So we have several contractors we work with currently. None of them has gone through a policy beyond what has been proposed prior to this 11th hour issue. So we have 3 contractors right now. None were advertised. None went out for bid. Each one followed the procurement policy of coming into a commission meeting, being on the agenda, and being approved by the board in that meeting. Every single one of them. We have a number of purchases by different departments that have fallen under section 4 of this policy. You can read it. Between $5,000 and $80,000 that have not gone out for bid, that have not undergone a individualized advertising process, has followed our process of investigating if there's a better way to go. But what they followed for those purchases was advertisement on the commission agenda, coming to a commission meeting, and a dissolution in that commission meeting. That is our policy. If we had at the beginning of this discussion said, okay, we're going to start these discussions with you, but realize we're going to change our policy and either run an advertisement or a full bid process, because we're going to change our policy, then I think we'd be on a good foundation. Right now, we are talking about a change of policy at the 11th hour after 2+ months of negotiating and working with experts, our HR consultant and Department of Labor contacts. Anybody could challenge this county on a number of different grounds for doing things inappropriately, because we are no longer following our policy by all of a sudden at this point going out for an advertisement. We should have done that at the beginning. If you guys want to change how we use the procurement policy, we can do that, but we cannot do it when it is at the 11th hour of already having negotiated with an individual. And that's the position we're in.
Well, I guess I don't understand where we've negotiated with an individual. I mean, there's been a proposal made to us. We've entered into any negotiations that I'm aware of. And the way I read this procurement policy, it specifically says if we're going out for a contract that's over $5,000 or less than $80,000, that this is the procedure we need to follow. And also, our own county attorney says this is what he needs to do. Our HR representative has contacted MACO, and MACO says, yes, we need to follow it if it's over $5,000. So based on those recommendations, I believe that's what we need to do.
I'm gonna correct you on a couple of things, Daryl. We did enter into negotiations. We had 2 meetings, one on February 3rd, one on February 18th, and I brought the minutes with me. Those are closed door. So I'm not going to read them, but you both have documentation that we did enter into negotiations. 2, the email from McKinsey to Michelle from NACO to HR was only engineering and contracting. It was not, I'm sorry, engineering bids, not for contracting. It specifically said not for contracting, and I believe I brought that with me, which I will find. But no, McKinsey did not say a contract for personnel services applies to being required to go out for bid. Section 4 of the, I'm sorry, go ahead.
I mean, I guess, like you said, the question was asked, are we legally obligated under employment laws to advertise this contract or an RFP? This is a contract.
And what does McKinsey's answer say?
It says, yes, MACO's response is to review the policy and yes, about following it, to put it out to bid if it's over $5,000. That was the response.
Well, the response I saw from McKinsey referred to 3 items in section 4, not including a contract for people. It was the construction contract, and I unfortunately don't have it with me. I might be able to find it on my phone. I will have to find that, but regardless, if you change things at the 11th hour, you are putting this county in jeopardy.
Well, I think that we've put ourselves in more jeopardy by not advertising this contract.
Well, then why didn't we
Well,
follow your idea with previous contracts? Why just this one
Oh, I
at the
wasn't here,
11th
I
hour?
wasn't here for one of the contracts, so I don't know what happened there. But I do know the one that you're talking about is with our sanitarian, and that was an emergency situation. And that was the reason I believe that we made that decision.
I think you were here for all 3 of them.
What's the other one?
Peter Simon, Debbie Randolph. All 3 of them. We did not do any additional advertising beyond what is called for in the procurement policy. I will go up and get the email because I think McKinsey's answer is important. But I'm going to talk about for a second the procurement policy, because what you are talking about is a change to this policy, and you're doing it after negotiations. And so the first part, the first sentence, it says, subject to MCA 764005, elected officials and department heads shall have the authority to make purchases or enter contracts for products and services valued between $5,000 and less than $80,000 that have first been approved by the Board of County Commissioners following the Local Government Act, Title 7, Chapter 6, Part 40, MCA.
I'm reading it, keep going.
Are you following? All such purchases shall be placed on the commission agenda and brought to a full vote of the Board of County Commissioners. However, should a situation arise, which could include, but is not limited to, an emergency, immediate repair needs, or an opportunity to save significant money, the elected official and department head may obtain permission from the Board of County Commissioners via email to proceed. Then the matter will be brought to an official vote at the next public commission meeting.
Right.
Okay, still no requirement for a bid, no special advertising.
Until you get to the next sentence.
No, all such purchases and contracts shall be done as follows. A, develop specific specifications for the product or services desired. Okay, we did that in our multiple negotiation meetings. B, wherever possible and appropriate, contact at least 3 vendors requesting price information for the same product or services. That's been done. We have a tool for that. The market wage adjustment tool, the salary surveys. C, evaluate the vendor's price quote in relationship to its experience, service policies, warranty, and geographic location. Okay. D, award the contract to the most responsive and responsible vendor whose price is most advantageous to the county, with price and other factors considered. Okay, we're following that. E, county contracts for the purchase of products or services shall be reviewed, approved, and signed by the Board of County Commissioners before a contract may be awarded. We've done that. We're in the process of that today. F, pertinent records must be kept. The bid specifications, copies of the advertisement, and original of all bids, documentation, the bid acceptance, documentation, the bid acceptance, that needs a little wordsmithing, and the final contractual agreement must be turned into the county commission to be filed. The copy shall be retained by the applicable department. Okay, we would be doing that. G, all information relating to the informal price solicitation, that's in italics, and the final contractual agreement must be turned into the county commission to be filed. Copies shall be retained by the applicable department. Check. You cannot give me one single example of where we went out for special advertisement or out to bid for anything from Section 4, other than the CDBG grants or state grants that required on the home. This county, for anything that was not part of a state program like CDBG, we do not have a single example of doing this. Now, if you want to change that, we can have that discussion. I asked a number of our department heads how you would feel, how this would affect your operations if every purchase for $5,000 or more, up to 80, which is where the law says you have to bid, but below that, it's up to us. How would it affect your operations if you had to go out for bid for every single purchase over $5,000? I can read those to you, but it would hamper operations in this county. So,
Well,
all I'm saying is, you want to follow policy, I agree. If we deviate from policy for one individual, are we discriminating?
so have we contacted at least 3 vendors requesting this? We have not, have we?
The market adjustment has.
No.
Market rate wage adjustment, yes, it contacted 6.
And now the other part of that would be that when Peter Simon and Debbie Randolph were hired, there was no comparison for other services there either.
Yeah.
So that's where we could get in trouble.
Mhm.
Because we've already signed contracts that don't have any other vendors' contact. I don't have a problem with putting it out to RFP because I don't think that we're gonna find another person that's qualified as Mary to do the job. And that's part of our, if you go through that, we're saving the county a significant amount of money. We're hiring the best person possible to hire. So you've already crossed it off the list. So I don't have a problem taking it out there, but the issue that I see is that if we say no, now we're gonna take this out to bid, can we get sued because we didn't take the other 2 out to bid?
Yeah. And that's possible, but I guess maybe this is an opportunity for us to correct what we've done in the past and do the right thing right now.
I'm going to tell you a story, take you back in history. A couple years ago, it was probably 4 or 5 years ago, there was a guy doing septic systems. And he got sideways with the sanitarian. This all happened in a public meeting, so I'm not sharing any of that. Shouldn't be. I'm not going to share names though. They got sideways with each other, big personality conflict. So the sanitarian came to a Board of Health meeting and she said, I want to change this in our regulations. I do not want anyone to be able to do 3 septic systems without being certified. Board of Health said, you know what, that's a really good idea. And since then, that policy has been changed, but at the time, we thought that's a good idea, except this individual came forward and he said, I'm already in the middle of this. This is because of a personality conflict. The sanitarian said, it is because of a personality conflict, but it's still a really good idea. This is what I want. The issue was taken to the county attorney, who said, because there is an appearance that this is being done because of a personality conflict and because of one installer, you guys will put the county in jeopardy if you make this change. So, change was not made, a lot of hurt feelings, a lot of anger. We maintain the status quo to protect. We got Sean Rowland in as our contract sanitarian, and he was able to get that change in. And I think I told this story at the Board of Health meeting not too long ago. We're looking at the exact same situation. We want to change the policy. Let's change it when there is absolutely no appearance that we're doing it because of a personality. Because right now, there's a lot of pieces that are pointing to this is because somebody has personality conflict. And you know what? When somebody comes into a job and they are darned effective, you are going to have people upset. People who came before them, people who don't want to change, people who don't like the fact that a woman stepped into a man's role and she's done darn fine. That's what we're dealing with here, and I think that would be a lot of what we're dealing with. We would be dealing with if we change the policy that's a little bit too closely related to discrimination. That's the slippery slope we're on.
But wouldn't you agree this also has the appearance of that we're trying to do something that benefits Mary? And I'm not disputing that Mary hasn't done a great job. I'm not disputing that at all. I'm just saying that this doesn't have the appearance that we're doing this to personally benefit somebody without having the opportunity for other folks to participate.
That's not a requirement by either HR, Title 39, which is employment law, or the Department of Labor. So there's always an appearance of something. That's why you land on policy. If you follow policy 100%, you are on solid ground. When you start altering policy, you get on a slippery slope. What Michelle Edmonds said in her email is, the number one question you should be asking yourselves is, how does this benefit the county? No offense, but we don't care about Mary. We care about how this benefits the county. We have somebody who's proven, and we're looking at $36,000 in savings, and we're looking at a win-win with a 30-day cancellation.
I agree, but I don't think it's the right way to proceed. Yes, in my mind, would we be discriminating against someone else that wanted to participate in this? That felt they had the qualifications to do this job? We just put somebody into that position.
How do you discriminate?
Well, I don't
Discriminate
know,
against somebody?
couldn't somebody say, hey, I'm qualified to do that job, why didn't I get a chance to? So my hat on.
That doesn't fall under discrimination.
No, maybe not, maybe it's ethics. Is that the ethical thing to do? I believe it is.
I think that could be agreed with, absolutely. However, our policy is in black and white. You cannot change policy, even if you're using an ethics argument, because this policy takes us into the realm of what you do for one, you do for all. We've done this 3 ways already for 3 different contractors. Now, all of a sudden, we're going to change it on one at the 11th hour. Where's the ethics?
Well, I guess
You may not like the policy. The correct move now is to change the policy to something you do like. But to change it midstream on an individual, that's where your discrimination comes in. Not from somebody who says, hey, I would have liked to have applied 8 years ago, but I didn't. or 2 years ago, but I didn't, that was their opportunity.
I'm not talking about 2 years ago, I'm talking about now. And I'm gonna stand on the county attorney's recommendation and our recommendation from our HR representative, which says that we need to put this out for advertising.
I'm gonna dispute the HR representative, and if you want to, my computer's working like a dog, but I will delay this meeting to go get it. Good, I'm gonna go get it, we're on recess for a few minutes,
I'm reading it.
and I'd like to see it.
I have several comments on this issue whenever you're ready for them. We need to come up
I'm
with
sure we do.
a flagging system thing, don't we? While we're on recess.
I'm gonna use this opportunity to go to the restroom.
And I'm leaving the stream going, even though you are on recess, because I don't want it to break and then restart when we're archiving it.
Okay.
Thank you. I didn't. Sorry, Karen. So I'll just take these. Thank you, Ann.
All right, we're back from recess. That's good with everyone. So the response from Mackenzie, and I quote. I'm going to read her entire needs. The answer, quote, they are only required to do RFPs for architectural, engineering, and land surveying services. 18-8-201. Let me know if you still want to visit. I can find time today. This is from Michelle Edmonds, our contract HR. I wanted to follow up and reiterate the risks when deciding on to eliminate the county position. First one is for you, the commission, to decide what is best for the county. Legitimate business reason that can be defended, as this can. Example of legitimate business reason may be significantly reduce cost to county. And then she gives the link to the Department of Labor. She did answer some other questions that are not nearly as clear. And we can get into that if
Yeah,
you
I know,
want.
I have the email here, I'm reading it.
Good,
yeah.
good.
And I'm not disputing that if we do this, it could significantly reduce our costs. I'm not disputing that at all. I'm just saying that we can't hand this position to somebody without going out for advertising and RFP. Maybe RFP is the wrong terminology. We're just advertising this position as we would any other job. Or I guess if we ask a engineering firm to do work for us, don't we advertise that and get we try to get at least three bids and try to make our best decision with those folks, right? I mean, I don't really see that as any different than what we're trying to do here.
Your argument makes good sense. It makes very good sense.
Mhm.
The problem is, it is contrary to our procurement policy section 4, which applies to this situation. And it is not how we've done it for 3 previous consulting staff members or independent contractors. That's where the issue comes in. Unfortunately, there is an email that says, and I know a couple of people who want that job. Now you're talking about, oh, is this being changed to benefit a buddy? I don't think that's your reason, but it sure as heck looks that way. I'm not opposed to advertising. I think it's a good idea.
That's all I'm asking.
The problem is we didn't put that on the table when we started negotiations over 2 months ago. And now we're actually talking about doing something contrary to policy, contrary to what we've done for 3 others. It's not, it makes good sense, but it should have been discussed before. It should have been done with those 3 contractors before. The fact that it wasn't, we can correct it in the future, but I don't think we can correct it at the 11th hour without putting ourselves in jeopardy.
So if we put this out to RFP, are we, do we set the wage in the RFP?
It's up to us. I would suggest we don't.
Yeah, I agree. That would set a wage. I mean, that would be part of the criteria that you would judge the RFP or the contract, whatever it is on, right? In my mind. And then when we did the silos project, yes, we went out, we got, was it 3 or 4 bids? I can't remember, but part of that criteria was cost. Plus, all the other things that when we set up that review of all those contracts.
The other thing is, in order for it to be anything advantageous to us to save county money, we have to limit that price.
Yeah. maybe these are some of the questions we need to work out with Michelle Evans from an HR standpoint. And that would help us develop this advertising.
You certainly can do that, and I'm going to say you guys can certainly do that. However, we are in the middle of a pandemic. We have staff who have some issues that need to be addressed and have no supervisor for them. I don't think we have time to just do, we're gonna go ahead and work with her and see if she can develop some. If we're gonna advertise, which is not the right way to go, but if you were gonna advertise, what I would suggest is it's a very benign advertisement. Send us your proposals. Then we schedule another very soon meeting, regardless of social distancing, so that we can address this, because we couldn't get it done today after 2 months of negotiations. And then we make a decision and get somebody in here to start doing the job that we need done right now.
Well, then, I guess I don't look at this as an emergency situation. I mean, our way that we have in place right now, I know we've been working with them, they seem to be doing fine.
You aware of what happened last Friday?
Which one?
Talked to you about it in a closed door, but no, things are not fine.
Well, they do have supervision, the commission is providing that for them at the moment. I don't see a need for us to rush into something that we could possibly not be happy with later on. So my recommendation is to advertise this. At least attempt to do this the proper way.
I would take extreme issue with the last comment. I think that was snide. Daryl, attempt to do this in the right way. Unless you have complaints with any of the 3 previous contractors we've worked with, I don't think that it's appropriate to say right way. This is the right way. The procurement policy has been proven. It was well documented. It took us a long time to put this together. We did it with the aid of our department heads. They're the ones that came forward and said, if you make us go out for bid for everything at $5,000, you are going to absolutely grind this county to a halt. We have a process so that we are aware of what they are doing, and we can say yes or no to their purchases, not only also through approving claims. We entered into negotiations over 2 months ago with somebody who has been brutalized in the local newspaper and on Facebook for what I can see no reason other than the fact that she's a woman doing a man's job, as they say. And now we're putting a whole different requirement on her than we have others that we have done this with. 2 men and a woman who had 2 men advocating for her to get $30 an hour for secretarial duties. That's double the cost of people make in the detention center to start there. That's double what we pay our control officers to take 911 calls. And it's double what we pay our own clerks in this courthouse for job descriptions that are far more technical than that of a secretary. And we had staff already hired that wanted those hours and could have done that and provided more oversight from the finance office. So if we're going to talk about doing it right, I think we did it wrong before. To change this now at the 11th hour all of a sudden, that's a big mistake, and I'm not going to support it.
We got comments.
We're not ready for comments yet,
I would,
and I
I
will
would,
remind you I'm the chair, Daryl.
I would agree with each of you on certain points. Number one, I did not view our prior conversations as negotiations. There were conversations about how a person was going to continue to do her job or not do the job. The point I will agree in is we are in a emergency situation that's taking up more of our time with one issue than any other issues. I would think that we would be far better off to put Mary in this position on a temporary contract, or however we have to do it for a temporary situation. Have her complete the programs that she started. We haven't got canister ordered for solid waste. That's killing our bottom line in solid waste. We have a public works manual that's not done. We have a solid waste operations manual that's not done. We have equipment for the road department that we have on hold with the state procurement people. There's just a number of things that haven't gotten done. And I think that the only person that knows the direction all that stuff goes is Mary. And whether we hire her on a permanent contract or not, if those are the programs that we want installed, then we have to get them installed. I think that we need to, my suggestion would be to put her on some kind of a temporary contract, if we can work it out for what you had proposed before, for say a 60-day contract, or maybe even to the end of the budget year. And then take the rest of this argument from there. But I don't think that we can sit here and not have those 4 departments, because now we're coming into weed and mosquito season. And if we're going to continue with this pandemic thing, and you got to remember, when this thing's over, we're going to have a great big rock on our heads that's called budget, and it's going to be a nightmare. And I don't even know if freezing it's going to address it, because we don't know what this thing's going to turn into. We don't need these 4 other headaches hanging on her. And she has a better repertoire with her people, and she knows them better, and she takes care of them. I think she has a lot more, she's able to have a lot more concern. We got 63, she's got 12. So we got to figure 63, and now we got to add another 12 that we have to immediately supervise on top of that. And I don't disagree that you're not doing a good job myself. I kind of left it to Steve, because that's what Steve does. The only thing I know about solid waste is just the end of Cedar Street and up at the top of the hill. And personnel wise, it's the same way. They know what they're doing with those people. I think we need to leave the management thing that we have intact. And if we want to change it 3 months down the road, if we want to put this out for a contract, I'm not opposed to that at all. I just think right now we need to get it done. Even if it's just temporary. That's all I got.
Would it be there to consider a shorter term rather than maybe just a month-to-month contract?
I would consider month-to-month.
And by doing that, it takes us out of that section 4. It put us into, I think, things that are valued under $5,000.
Yeah.
And then in the meantime, that would give us an opportunity to create an advertisement and maybe approach us in a different way than we have in the past.
And to me, I mean, maybe I'm out of line here, but the bottom line is I don't think we're going to find anybody better than Mary anyway.
Well, and that might be there. I think
But the thing is, you still have to put it out there.
we do have to put it out there. That's the thing.
And another thing that I would think is if we're gonna continually bring this up in the procurement policy, then I think that we have to have a clause in there specific to consultants and individual contracts.
Sure.
Because Michelle Edmonds, when we hired her, we never really went out to a bid process there, but that was somebody we had known before. We had a familiarity. So we're probably in the same boat there too.
Yeah, the procurement policy has worked very well. It's when you nitpick it and try and make it work for the benefit of something other than what you're trying to do, that it becomes cumbersome. So I don't know that we need to do anything with the procurement policy. As far as the contract goes, I think it already answers, the one that we were given by Mary already answers your month to month. So this was from Michelle Edmonds. It was a contract she used. And this is what she gave to Mary, who changed it to reflect this particular position. But what it says under term and termination, 3.3, either party may voluntarily terminate this agreement at any time effective upon written notice. Termination becomes effective within 30 calendar days of written notice and subject to the limitations. So we have that. This is a temporary contract, essentially. It can go on for 10 years, go on for 30 days, because it's terminated through this policy. The other thing, as far as advertising, yeah, I agree with that, but if we're going to advertise one position, I suggest we advertise them all. We advertise for the attorney for the trust board, we advertise for our HR consultant, we advertise for our sanitarian consultant, and we advertise for our trust board secretary. And we advertise for our public works director. What you do for one, you do for all.
I'm good with that.
Okay,
That-
I am too.
Yeah, if that's what we need to do, I think that's the right thing to do.
I'm okay with it.
Okay. So then we do have a contract. We did talk about and did agree to $33 per hour and for full-time hours per week. Do you guys want to put that in and actually call this good then?
So, no, I don't agree with full-time work. There's no need to have this be a full-time position.
Okay. Here we go again. I don't see how you can manage 12 people part-time. I just don't see it. I think things would get dropped. I think this is a heavy lift anyway. You mentioned a bunch of things that haven't got done. Why? Because it's not a part-time job. It's a full-time plus job. I don't see how we take this to part-time. But I'll let you, Mike.
This is a consultant position, correct? This is what we're talking about. This is a consultant position. And we've already, Michelle Evans has already made it very clear that, and I believe it states in the contract that they have no supervisory control over the employees. So that still is upon the commission. We still have that obligation. So simply all they're doing is she is a consultant for roads, grade, and solid waste. And these are mosquitoes.
I think there's a word there that needs to be understood as having significant value, and that is control. I can't find where that's at here, but supervision as a consultant, she would be supervising their work, she would be supervising what they do, she would be supervising their behavior, she would be supervising their customer service, and if there's an issue, she would be bringing that to us, and then we would address it just like we would any other supervisor. At that point, we could say, Mary, we instruct you to coach in this individual in this way, to give this individual training in this way, to start the disciplinary process in this way, and then we'd work with them. But like we talked about before, it isn't a great deal different than any other supervisor who has staff. Everybody brings their stuff to us first. We figure out how to move forward together, and they proceed in that way.
Well, I guess I look at all our other consultants that we have, they don't supervise any staff. Do they?
Yes,
Who?
Sean oversees Helen.
Yeah, but ultimately, she's still our employee.
Everyone is. All 63 people in this county are our employees. Who tells her what to do in the morning? Hey, would you do this, this, and this? Hey, I'm going to go out and take care of this site visit. So-and-so is going to call. Don't. It is what it is. The other consultants are their own companies. Michelle, she has employees, they're just not ones that we share. Peter Simon's a consultant, but he's his own business. Debbie, she doesn't have employees. So I don't think you can compare that. The only close comparison is Sean, and he does supervise Helen's work.
So Mary, where would you be at for hours?
In terms of what I would propose per week. You know, the first year, you know, I had several comp time hours, just because there was a lot to do. You know, could I get it done between 24 and 40 hours a week? Yes, there is a lot that's left to be done. There's a lot that's still not accomplished. You know, one of the discussions that we've had is I would put the hours in that are necessary to get it done, not to exceed 40 hours a week, but if there wasn't work that needed to be done, I wouldn't be working. And you would not be, you wouldn't be paying for me for hours I don't work. So, you know, I guess it's hard for me to guess. Yes, I proposed 24 hours initially. And that was just based on, you know, what could I get done in a day? I could get done, you know, that's 3 solid days of work, or, you know, several half days of work. Could I get things done? Sure. But there are things that require, you know, a full 8-hour day. I can't just get into something and put it down, you know, and come back the next day. So, you know, would it exceed 40 hours a week? No. Would it often exceed 40? Would it often exceed 24 hours a week? Maybe not. Maybe not. I mean, I'll be honest with you. I know what needs to be done. I know what I still have yet to complete. The staff are good. They know what to do. You know, so there may be times, there may be weeks that require a 40-hour week. Most of them would probably be 30 to 24 hours max. Could I make that happen? You bet. I can make that happen. I can accommodate that. You know, if that's something that you would like. But there are times of the year that you know, it would probably require more than 20 hours or 24 hours a week to do that job. Yes.
The contract currently says, consultant's time will not exceed 24 hours per week. I think that's tying Mary's hands. It's setting her up for failure. It's tying her arms. If Mary can get the job done in less than 40, as a independent contractor, I think she's motivated to get the job done in less than 40. That would be great. That's a benefit to everybody. If we just take out that sentence in the contract, we could put 40, consultant's time will not exceed 40 hours per week, client will be billed hourly. Then we could work with Mary and try it done. If she can get it done in less time, I'm totally good with that.
Then it also said she has the option to request more hours if needed. So we limit it at 24. If she feels she has a project or something that needs more hours, then we can authorize that.
I think that I would be in favor, but I think that I would limit it to 30. Because it sounds to me like 24 to 30. Otherwise, every week she's going to be coming back in here and wanting to have, you know, I have to have 2 more hours. 30 is the max. Limit it 24 to 30. And if she has to go over 30, then we would have to approve 30 over 30.
As long as we can approve that via email, because of the fact that we are going to be screaming busy the next however many months we can't count right now. To have to meet with Mary every week because she needs more time, I think is going to be an absolute time sink for us. If you guys want to make it 30, but more hours can be authorized via email, then we could do that. But to set her up for failure because there's not enough hours, I tend to go a little bit more on every management training I've ever had. You give people a benefit of doubt, but you supervise. If somebody knows you're watching what they're doing, but you're not watching from the point of trying to find wrongdoing, you're watching from a point of trying to be a good communicator, they will give you back 110, 140%. If we put in this contract up to 40 or up to 30 or 35 or whatever we come to, and we supervise and work with Mary, we're gonna know what the requirements are. We're gonna know where she's at in her needs in order to be successful. If we come to this with a hammer and we keep her from being successful because we are too stringent, I think it's a negative work environment that we're setting up. Maybe if we had language that said something, we'd like to see hours kept around 30. Again, you stay in contact with people, you know what they're doing, then you know where that needs to be adjusted.
I think you need to set the hour, it needs to be specific. We don't want to leave anything that's open-ended.
Yeah, I think we want to set them at 30, and then when we put it out to bid, that's when we set the hours at.
Yeah.
With other hours, approved by an email.
I'll compromise with that, but I will also say when we put everything out to vote, none of them have hours. None of the other contracts have, and this is the number of hours. So I will ask that that be included in all the contracts, not just Mary's. And I think we need to make sure that, yeah, I think that's enough. Yeah. What you do for one, you do for all.
Do we also supply a vehicle?
I mean, that's an option. We do have fleet vehicles versus having to
Pay mileage?
pay mileage. I think that probably saved the county some money that way.
Tammy did analysis of what the fleet vehicles saved us over paying mileage a couple years ago, and it was pretty astounding, the savings in money. So I would absolutely say yes to the vehicle. I'd also like her to have an office here in the courthouse, because I want the public to have a place to come to talk to her when we can unlock the doors, about their issues. Having a face-to-face communication is far more beneficial to someone than any other kind of communication.
Very cool.
I know two numbers have been bandied about. We did talk about and agree per the minutes, $33 per hour. When you look at a secretary making 30, 33 for a department head of 12 is a screaming deal. Are we good with 33? Still?
Well, you know, we are providing an office, we provide the vehicle.
I think I'll be good with 33 at 30 hours.
Okay, I compromised to the 30 hours. So Daryl, you good with the compromising to the 30? Well, again, we had an agreement. Are you good with the $33 an hour up from the re-proposal of 30?
Okay, I'll agree with that.
So the next question is, Mary, would you be good with $33 per hour, not to exceed 30 hours per week, unless you come to us for more hours, depending on what you're working on. With the contract that you and Michelle put together.
Yes.
All right. Anything else we need to
Yeah,
negotiate?
I guess one thing that I do want to make sure is that Michelle Evans clarifies where the line is as far as for your supervisory duties with our employees. We need to make sure that that's clear.
Mhm.
Yeah, okay. This is-
And we'll need a copy of your contractor's license and your liability insurance. So do we have a standard amount of liability insurance that you have to carry? I have to carry $1 million for my business, so is that what she has to carry, is $1 million?
I don't know, do you know?
I'd say that'd be a minimum.
I would,
We'll find out the answer
Okay.
and get that, because that would be part of the package.
And then the other thing is, did you fill out a independent contractor exemption certificate, or are you providing?
I have them,
You have it, so you're not providing workman's comp for yourself.
correct,
You're using the exemption, right?
yes.
Okay. All right. So are you going to, how are we doing this contract? Are you going to present this final proposal to us?
What I would suggest is we've come to an agreement, we have a contract here that Mary already provided. We also have a statement of work that Mary already provided. Both were worked on with Michelle Edmonds, who is our HR consultant. I would suggest that we sign and approve what we've talked about today and ask Mary to clean it up and put back a hard copy for us for records.
Yeah, I mean, Michelle needs to review it and make sure that we're not violating any labor laws or anything like that.
And like I said, this was Michelle's contract. So yes, we certainly can ask her to give that another review,
She does.
but this is from Michelle, so she wouldn't have given us something that violated labor laws in the first place. So if you guys are good with that, we could make a motion, sign this draft, give it to Mary and have a hard copy.
I'll make that motion.
And this is for a month-to-month contract, right?
Month-to-month contract for 30 hours a week at $33 an hour. We provide a vehicle and office space.
And in the interim, we're going to advertise for this position and then make our final decision.
Yeah.
Later, right?
At budget time.
Yeah.
So that'll give us till the first of July. Unless she wants out of it before that, but she has to give us 30 days notice.
I would ask that the interim advertising be a second motion, because this is just this position. Interim advertising is all contracts. Sure.
Well,
I don't know,
they have a private conference?
somebody's in the hallway or something.
You have about 40 pending comments, just so you're
What's
aware.
that?
You have about 40 pending comments, just so you're aware.
Good.
So. I'll have your time for that.
Can you ball like 9 of them together or?
I don't think so.
Huh?
So we have a little bit of a go back to the policy. So let's, if we can, Well, let me share this with you so that we're all on the same page. This doesn't change what we've talked about already. However, our procurement policy, if we're gonna put all the contracts out to bid or advertise, we need to go through a process to change the procurement policy. We can do that. It's a little bit lengthy. We can certainly do that. We have to do that before we go out for advertisement or bid, because it's not called for in here. If we're going to be doing anything, it has to be documented in policy. So, just pointing that out. When we come to that motion, that needs to be a part of it. Okay. So, is it okay with you guys then if we have the first motion just for the contract, and then the second one for changing the procurement policy, or at least reviewing it with department heads, and then proceeding with the rest of our contracted consultants equitably. However it states we will in the procurement policy, we determine to be how we move forward.
I'll make the motion to approve the initial contract for the changes that we also have.
Okay. We have a second.
Not in a second.
Okay, I will second the motion. It's been moved and seconded then to sign and approve the consulting services contract with Mary Hendrickson for termination. Either party may voluntarily terminate this agreement at any time effective upon written notice, and it becomes effective within 30 days. So you've got your 30-day contract at $33 per hour at 30 hours per week, not to exceed that amount unless an email confirmation of the lease has been received by the commission. Did I miss anything? Okay, any public comment?
Yes, indeed.
All right,
So the first one, this is for the public's knowledge as well as yours. The comments are continuing to roll through this, and I believe the commission is not going to take public comment until the public comment period is open, correct?
correct.
Okay, so from the beginning, Bobby Meehan, has there been a savings to the county with the sanitarian being contracted out? We have a contracted sanitarian and he has a paid assistant. Next one from Ross Johnson. Wouldn't a contract have to be open for bid? Comment from Bobby Meehan. Do you have a specific person you are discussing for the contracted labor? Follow-up comment from Bobby Meehan. Commissioner Obert mentioned earlier, we have been running with a Public Works contact, but I'm going to assume she means contract worker since January. Am I misunderstanding? When did the PWD position become contracted labor? Ross Johnson. If we are adding more responsibilities to the foreman, why do we need a contracted Public Works director? Dana Rouser. I agree with Ross. Debbie Randolph. I also agree with Ross. Bobby Meehan. What individual have the commissioners been negotiating with for 2 months? Ross Johnson. I think all contracts should be open for bid. This is the taxpayers' money, not the commissioners. Dana Rouser. County won't be in any more jeopardy over the wait than some other things that taken place in past year. Steve McCullough. I would recommend you wait. Forcing this issue does not instill public confidence. Bobby Meehan. I completely agree with Commissioner Fulkford. It's time to correct what the commission has done wrong in the past 2 years. Ross Johnson. I agree with Derek, one person's interpretation of policy. Follow up by Steve McCullough. Do the correct thing for the public and allow delay. Ross Johnson. I agree with Steve. Laura's interpretation may not be correct. Dana Rouser. Commissioner Fulkford is right on. Debbie Randolph. Please step back and revise the policy now. Am I going too fast or is this okay?
No.
All right, okay. Dana Rouser, agree with Debbie. Ross Johnson, agree. Debbie Randolph, Mr. Folkford has the best interest of the citizens in mind. Ross Johnson, agree with Debbie. Dana Rouser, stick to your guns, Daryl. Ethics should be everything. Vicky Rouser, what is the effective date of the PWD's resignation? The discussion you're having today should have taken place immediately, not after 2 months. Why contract with that person even temporarily? Bobby Meehan, doing the right thing now is the best way to protect Broadwater County instead of continuing down a road of bad policy and unethical practices. Debbie Randolph, please answer Vicky's questions. Win Meehan, this would be a good time for the commission to listen to public comment. Ross Johnson, change the policy. Bobby Meehan, Commissioner Obert, if this procedure should be corrected in the future, it should be corrected now. When did the commissioners begin negotiations?
Any more?
There are, I'm sorry, I'm just having some lag time issues with internet connection, so bear with me.
We're hearing from the same 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, really 5 people. Are there any other folks that have any comments?
I believe they are all the same folks.
All right.
We're almost through them.
Okay.
Let's see. Oh, and then Bobby Meehan states, I request public comment be open now. I interjected, I'm waiting to be recognized by the commission for public comments, which I think we've established. This is public comment period. Debbie Randolph, if Mary H. resigned, why does she or the county want her back in the same position? I am confused. Steve McCullough, public comment needs to be injected into this discussion. Ross Johnson, come on, Laura, let's get back to the question and not play the sex card. Steve McCullough, I would interrupt and question the decision of the chair not to allow comments. Robert's rules apply. Bobby Meehan, is this an 11th hour due to the commissioners being in negotiations with Mary for 2 months without bringing the issue to the public? Commissioner Obert needs to allow public comment. Win Meehan. Sorry. It would be nice if the commission would show the elected officials the expertise that they have and compensate them at the same level as contract providers. Steve McCullough, what happened to public input and transparency? Dana Rouser, there is none, Steve. Ross Johnson, why not just contract specific projects and not the whole position, such as finish the manuals? Ross Johnson agrees with that. Steve McCullough, again, based on Robert's rules, I question the chair on delaying public comments. Ross agrees with Steve. This isn't Laura's board, it's the people's board. Bobby Meehan, $33 if any risk to her life. Ross Johnson, commissioners listen to the citizen comments before you vote. Bobby Meehan, will the contracted labor be certificate and carry their own liability? Steve McCullough, violation of Robert's Rules of Order. Follow up by Steve McCullough. Nicole, you need to raise our issues. Let's see, James Green, is the contract you are holding a new contract or the contract established before she resigned? Ross Johnson, she didn't get it done in 40 hours, so how will she get it done in 30 hours? Vicky Rouser, the contract should be for a per month amount with the contractor working the hours necessary to get the job done. Steve McCullough, this has the appearance of a backdoor agreement decided before being discussed. Ross agrees with Vicky and Steve. Win Meehan, the county commission should be ashamed of themselves for not taking the public comments into this discussion, as there has been numerous good questions. They are failing the public trust. Steve McCullough, no one in the room is concerned about public input. Sad for Broadwater County taxpayers. Okay, we're almost to the end here. Click it, okay. Debbie Randolph, Broadwater County deserves better. Ross Johnson, I wouldn't sign the agreement. Bobby Meehan, does our county insurance that's my fault. Does our county insurance cover a contacted, I believe she means contracted, labor to drive a county-owned vehicle? Steve McCullough, I wouldn't sign the agreement. Steve McCullough, force-fed motion, vote no. James Green, wait a minute, please acknowledge the public before making decisions. Ross Johnson, vote no. Dana Rouser, I think Laura's training came from Chuck Schumer and Nancy Pelosi. Win Meehan, Nicole, please ask the commission to respond to each comment, please. Bobby Wade, wait, public comment, please. Nicole, I'm sorry, Steve McCullough. Nicole, you need to interrupt on behalf of, never mind, he took it off. Okay, I believe we are caught up.
Great. Thank you very much. For Robert's Rules of Order, just for the record, the board deliberates, as we did, and public comment does not come into play until you have a motion and a second. Then you ask for public comment. Otherwise, we have a free-for-all meeting and you never get any work done. So as far as the questions, this is public comment, but I think some of them do need to be addressed. That a lot of them were repeated multiple times. No, Nicole, you don't need to interrupt. I think that would have been inappropriate. You handled yourself beautifully, perfectly, and couldn't have done better. Who have we been negotiating with for 2 months? This has been almost a change of job classification is what we started with. Changing someone from a employee to a contractor, and that's when HR was brought in, and the information from our HR, human resources contractor, was as long as what you were doing benefits the county, then it is defensible. $36,000 a year savings benefits the county, therefore it's defensible. And there has been no issues, I think that was stated by Commissioner Fulford, with Mary Hendrickson's job performance. I don't think there's a single blemish in your personnel file. In fact, I think there's some commendations. So 2 wrongs don't make a right, somebody said, or at least that's what I wrote down. Right, you have to follow policy. If you want to follow policy, you cannot do it when there is an appearance of one person. So that's why we will address the policy as a secondary and follow the policy as it stands now. If some people don't like it, we can certainly revisit and take public comment again on that, but also hear from our department heads who would be the ones affected. I think that about sums up everything. Anything more to add, gentlemen? If you want to take that, you may, and then we will call that public comment if it's part of the subject.
All right, you put you on speaker. Didn't work.
I have 2 more public comments that have come through since then, just so you're
Are you
aware.
there? Are you there? Yeah. Let me try it again here. Okay, go ahead. Are you there, Corey?
I'm here, yeah.
Okay.
You want to try your cell phone, maybe? Or relay comments?
Okay, let's try it again.
Or relay comments?
Okay, I think it worked this time.
Yep, hold on.
Okay, go ahead. All right, you're on speakerphone.
This is public
Okay.
comment, Corey.
I was just calling to discuss our connection. We were calling half an hour and I had to pull over where I have good cell coverage.
Okay.
Are you guys still in your other meeting or are you done?
We're still in our other meeting.
But we should be done by 1 or by 2, I would think.
Okay, yeah, you're in a good spot then.
Okay, I'll hang on.
All right, thanks.
Okay, 2 more comments and then I'm going to call the vote.
So this is coming from Dave Klaus. The contract should be for asset amount with the contractor working the hours necessary to get the job done. And then the last one showing is from Steve McCullough. People in the room are allowed to comment, but not the online citizens. And that is all I have for comments here.
All right. Thank you very much.
I guess I have one final comment. I guess
All right.
I would just, urge everyone to really think about this, reconsider what we're doing here. Let's take the time to advertise this. I guess we have an opportunity to do the right thing going forward from here.
And vague comments like do the right thing, I think that all three of us are advocating for doing the right thing. There may be a difference of opinion on how words in white and black come off a page. But there is no question at all that everybody is trying to do the right thing. I'm trying to protect the county by following the policy. That is the right thing.
Okay.
You have a difference of opinion, so let's not use those kind of phrases.
No, I
It's
understand
inappropriate.
that, but
Thank you.
let's not rush into this decision. Obviously, there's plenty of public comment that feels it water.
It's not a rush. We have been working on this for months. We brought in the experts, and the public comment was from about 5 people. It was a lot of comments, but that is not a representation of everyone in the county. So I think we need to definitely hear what they said, which we do. I think we're addressing most of their issues with the process we've negotiated. So I'm going to call for the vote now that we have taken public comment and taken commission comments, unless you have a comment to add, Mike.
No.
Okay, all those in favor of the motion, please signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed?
No.
All right. Let the record show the motion did pass with 2 ayes and 1 nay. Mary, we'll get you a copy of this if you could clean it up with the scratch marks I got in there. And thank you very much. You have done good work and really made a tremendous difference. So thank you very much.
Snowplow truck, or what do you want to do with that?
Is that the maintenance truck, the snowplow truck question?
No, that's the pickup truck. That's junk vehicle maintenance and roads, water, to transfer that from roads to maintenance, right?
So we have that on the agenda. The other 2, we do have to get those canisters done. If that's all ready to go with the VOI, that was already approved by going out to the Board of Investments.
We need to order
law.
those.
And then the truck, was that connected with the VOI too?
No, that's just, that's a snowplow with the
Got a snowplow and 2 pickups,
surplus has.
but I haven't been able to present that to you yet. So,
Well, per the procurement policy, let me read this to you, because, we're getting to know this so well. If, this is the second sentence in section 4, it's under 80 grand, right? So all such purchases shall be placed on the agenda and brought to a full vote of the commission. However, should a situation arise which could include, but is not limited to, an emergency, immediate repair needs, or an opportunity to save significant money, the elected official and department head may obtain permission from the Board of County Commissioners via email to proceed. Then the matter will be brought to an official vote at the next public meeting. So we could give Mary clearance to go ahead and pursue that now, and then put it on the next agenda per the procurement policy. And being a state surplus, it's not going to just hang there forever. That would be the reason this comes into play. Are you guys good with that?
This is for the snowplow truck?
For the snow, for the plow truck.
So it looks like you got 3 yeses on that.
so just a minute, listen.
All right.
All right, thank you.
Thank you very much. So are you guys good? The maintenance truck transfer, that's the next on the agenda. Are you guys good with that? And we should have a motion if you are, so that it's on the record. Maintenance truck transfer?
Yeah, I'll make a motion to transfer the truck from the sheriff from roads to maintenance.
From the sheriff, did you say?
From the sheriff.
Okay,
It was bought part of maintenance, part road, part of junk vehicle. Roads doesn't use it, so let's transfer the roads department share over to the maintenance.
Okay. Do we have a second?
Second.
All right, it's been moved and seconded to transfer the truck that was bought as a shared vehicle between roads and maintenance to just maintenance. Any public comment? We do, all right.
Not necessarily on this topic, I don't believe in reading through these
Okay,
comments, so
then we'll go ahead.
if you want to
continue.
wait and take them, okay.
All right, so all those in favor of the motion, please signify by saying aye. Aye, motion carries. Okay, so now we have just basic mail. And I will speed through this so we can make sure to accommodate Corey without going too fast. Just make sure that we accommodate public participation. Okay, so we have, excuse me, claims. These are approved claims. Claims must be approved by at least 2 signatures or initials from commissioners. We have a stack of approved claims in the amount of $14,204.55.
I'll make a motion to approve said claims.
Second.
Yes, we moved and seconded to approve claim, pay the approved claims in the amount of $14,204.55. Any public comment on the claims? Okay, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carries. These are not stapled. So I'll give it to you like that. I'm going to ask you to sign this one instead. We have a copy of these made so the public can see it, and I gave you guys the copy. Sorry about that. Thank you. Okay, we have approved claims in the amount of $33,707.21.
And then we pay the claim in the amount of $33,707.21.
I'll second the motion.
It's been moved and seconded to pay the approved claims in the amount of $33,707.21. Any public comment on the claims? All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carries. There's that for you. The original, not the copy. We have approved claims in the amount of $22,656.03.
I'll make the motion to approve claims of $22,656.03.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to pay the approved claims in the amount of $22,656.03. Is there any public comment on the claims? All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carries. There you go. this is our last claims. We have approved claims in the amount of $77,241.84.
Yeah, we would pay claims amount of $77,241.84.
We have a second for that motion?
Yeah, so,
All right, we have a motion and a second to pay the approved claims in the amount of $77,241.84. Any public comment on the claims?
No.
All right, so all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carries. Okay, now we're into payroll. This is payroll to 13 March 2020 in the amount of $179,159 and a penny.
I'd like to motion to approve claims at said amount.
One second.
It's been moved and seconded to pay payroll in the amount of $179,159.01. Any comment, public comment on the payroll? All those in favor of the motion, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carries. All right, we did have a couple of pieces of mail just to show for the public process that we got it. I just put them away too quickly. So we have, this is a payment for restitution in the amount of $1,439.09. We have a entitlement share payment for the third quarter of $144,062.79. And we have a payment from Taylor Grazing for fiscal year 19, sections 15 and 3. Two A101s, one for 270.7, the other for 270.88. We have a letter from DEQ from March 25, and this is to announce the opening for public comment for Montana's water quality standards. Public review and comment will be received until 5 p.m. on April 20th, 2020. We have an acknowledgement from Department of Revenue on the receipt and approval of the Wheatland Water and Sewer District, the Raidersburg Historical Preservation Tax Exempt Status, Raidersburg Professor Repeat, and response also on the Raidersburg application. And then we also have from March 5 to 2020. Tell me if you guys already went through this. This is acknowledgement of not only Raidersburg, but also a medical clinic operated by Dr. Nicholas Campbell, and they are recognizing improvements.
Ms. Carroll? Hey. Yeah, I will. We're just finishing up, okay? Here you go. All right.
So what we have is a contract for CenturyLink. This is for $310, and this is for internet and phone over at the Opportunity Bank building. It's very, very small, but I'll give it to you. The number on the sticky is what it would cost or what we pay for the courthouse, so it's about a third of the cost. We need to approve that, and Mike is actually motoring over there. It's almost ready. Couple of things will be, maybe our next meeting will be over there, depending on the desk. They are working on that at the prison as we speak. He's almost ready to move Allison over for extension in 4-H, and just waiting on phone and internet, and across the street. Kind of a situation where you have people make appointments and you carry over a box in the morning and have it there and delivered that way. Right now, I understand you guys are going outside and hand delivering in the parking lot. So that works too. So I would accept a motion, if you guys are so inclined, to work with CenturyLink to put internet and phone in the county annex.
I'll make a motion. For CenturyLink.
And I'll second.
It has been moved and seconded to approve the contract with CenturyLink for phone at the internet at the county annex for $310. Any public comment on the contract, Nicole?
No.
All right, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye, motion carries. Okay, I think that is all the mail. That for your file, Ann. Double checking. All right. So, do you have more public comments before we close the meeting or recess the meeting?
Yes, I have 6 more.
Okay, 6.
You ready?
Yes.
Okay. So this is from Bobby Wade. 1 or maybe 2 questions were answered. Does the county insurance cover a contracted laborer driving a county-owned vehicle? The next one. Or do you want me to pause for response, or do you want
No,
me to
it's
go
public
through?
comment.
Okay.
You just read them all. We can see what we can do.
Okay, perfect. Win Meehan. Daryl should be able to have his own opinion and not be condemned for it. Bobby Meehan. Thank you, Commissioner Folk. Again, Bobby Meehan. What happened to the second motion to advertise all contracted positions?
We forgot. We did do that.
And a follow-up by Bobby Meehan. Commissioner agreed to make a second motion to change the policy in an effort this will not happen again. Therefore, moving forward, we will protect the county. Where is that motion? And the 6th and final comment on here is from Dave Klaus. Internet went dead, so was cut off. The contract should specify what the deliverable is, the deadline for submission, an amount not to be exceeded.
All right, thank you very much. To the insurance question, yes, that is covered. It's also covered for board members that travel in the vehicles to different meetings. So Agency on Aging, we have a appointed member of the public that serves on the advisory board. And when we travel, they are covered. And when they're not actually an employee, they are more just a volunteer board member. So that's good information, I think, to have. So yeah, we were going to have a motion to revisit the procurement policy with our department heads and advertise all contracted positions about the same timeline you were looking at, right, Mike?
Yeah.
Okay, so I would entertain a motion on that if you guys like. I think it's extra, but I think it doesn't hurt to have the motion and the vote.
So I'll make a motion to revisit the procurement policy to specifically address all contract positions. Personnel contract positions.
And then, are we going to advertise them for this position? That we're gonna do?
That and all of them.
All
What you
positions?
do for one, you do for all.
Second.
All right, it's been moved and seconded to revisit the procurement policy and readdress all the contract positions with personnel. Any public comment? More? All right.
Nothing coming through.
All those in favor of the motion, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carries. All right, I think that'll be good. It'll give us all a chance to remind ourselves that we have this and what the opportunities are with it as well. Because I think once you adopt sometimes a policy or a document, after that it's forgotten, especially when it's 2 years old. So with that, anything else? All right, we are recessed for closed door for legal strategy. And then we have a HR meeting or a personnel hearing with our HR consultant, and the rights of the individual far outweigh the rights of the public to know. So thank you very much. Nicole, thanks for putting this together. Anyone who watched, thanks for watching. And thank you for spending your day with us.